Hello and welcome to the Dollhouse. My name is Kit Kowalski. I'm an Australian feminist researcher and blogger. I'm joined by my co-host Eddie Wyatt, who writes for The Spectator and whom you can also find on Substack. And we're here to talk today about sex, gender, and a lot of nonsense in the Antipodes today. So welcome, Edie.
Hi, Merry Christmas. We're a couple of days out from Christmas. What we call today the 23rd in our household Christmas Adam, because Adam came before, which is a little bit silly,
Oh,
but it
that's
started
good.
when the kids
Yeah.
were, when you say stupid things and the kids are little,
Yeah.
you sometimes keep them up. It's also my mother's birthday, um, but she's been dead for a long time. She would be, I don't know, 92. She was never going to live that long the way she drank and smoked, but yeah, so I always think
Yeah,
about her
it's
today.
we are I don't think we're currently in the heat wave in New South Wales, but
Oh,
like the
where
last
really?
couple of
What?
days, I think over the weekend and oh, today's Tuesday, so over the weekend and yesterday it was officially a heat wave.
Mm.
So all the things that you plan to get done, it just don't they just don't happen,
No, well,
unfortunately.
we've been cooking. We live in a Lebanese household. My husband's Lebanese, as I've told everybody many times. And I've had memes made about it.
Because
It
you're the Arab whisperer.
so it means because I've colonized this man who I
Yeah.
forced to be my husband. Um, we start cooking about, days and days and days. So
Mm.
he's been making, piles of baklava, which we're giving to friends and family as gifts. One anab, which are the grapevine leaves, he's got them ready for Christmas. Today I'm making some little contribution. I'm also going to be making some maklube for Christmas, which is I call it, it's like upside down thing, which is with lamb and eggplant and rice and almonds. Uh, Plus, we're going to make a bunch of other things. We've only got like six people coming, with our kids coming and partners and
Mm.
stuff. So it's not going to be a massive thing, but we're going to have a pile of food that, could feed an army, which is the Lebanese way. But yeah,
Yeah, I
you got
think
some things planned?
we're just gonna have fairly low key kind of, Aussie Christmas, just like the extended family. And I think as the years go by, we hone the amount of food that we need. So,
Oh, good
you
on
know,
you. Yeah.
initially it was like, oh, you're eating leftovers for weeks, but
Mm.
now we just gotta cook a little bit too much, so you do have leftovers. But um, I think a lot of the cooking's happening, yeah, like today and tomorrow, and so that on Christmas Day there won't be anything to
Left
do.
to
And
do. Yeah.
yeah,
We like to go to church in the morning too. And so we're having Christmas lunch. We don't like to be slaves to the kitchen. Mm.
yeah. Well, when I grew up, like my grandmother, whose birthday was Christmas Day,
Oh.
actually. But that was her thing, is like every year on Christmas, she would just like slave away in the kitchen
Mm.
to get lunch ready for everybody. And then, yeah, like, so
Yeah.
that was how she spent her birthday every single year, is just
It's
like
crazy, isn't it?
cooking in a
Yeah.
too hot kitchen.
I am going to
Um,
make some roast potatoes, even though we're going to make two shoulders of lamb, one for the McLuhan and one for the one and the grapevine leaves. But we're going to have a roast. But I just can't help myself to make
yeah.
roasties. It's like it's Christmas. I've got to make
I
roast
know, I
potatoes.
know, I know.
I can't let it go without having the roast potatoes. So we're going to have these odd little bits of white people food amongst um, and it's not that, it's not that
Well, the
it's
potato
taken
is from the
over.
Americas, actually.
Is it?
So,
There you
yeah,
go. Well,
yeah, it's
my
not that
ancestors are
white.
Irish, so they've taken that. And my husband
They
always said,
colonized it. They
he
colonized.
calls them your potatoes. You're going to make your potatoes. Like I'm the one that invented potatoes. And even when he was one time, he bought a deep fryer to make his falafel. And he started asking me all these questions about how to deep fry. And I said, at that stage, we've been married 20 years. I said, in 20 years of marriage, when have you ever seen me deep fry anything?
Mm.
Oh, no, no, I haven't. I said, well, how would you know? How would I know how to deep fry? How to deep fry properly? He said, well, you're people. You make chips and things. You're people. If they
I
just
love
because I was
the
a
casual kind of,
uh, racism, just because I'm a
racism.
white person. Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like it's probably Christmassy here. If you're watching from the UK, it might be looking like it's cold, but it's absolutely stinking hot. I've got all the doors and windows closed, and I've got the air conditioning on. We've just had a storm, and it's still absolutely disgustingly hot. I'm still sweating, and it's going to be a closed-in Christmas. We're gonna absolutely have the air conditioning on and everything closed up for Christmas because
Yeah.
that's the
It's
only
a
way we're going
shelter
to be
in
able to
place.
eat.
That's all we
Mm.
need to do is just shelter in place and do almost nothing
Yeah, that's
over
right. Yeah.
Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, hope that we all emerge victorious sometime in I don't know, late February, early
Yeah, that's
March.
right. Yeah, yeah. It's going to be
But
a hot one right around Australia, I think. But I like that. We've spent a few Christmases in the UK with my family being the UK, and I've got a good friend in the north of England. She puts on a beautiful Christmas. She just makes the everything from scratch. Um, and it's a beautiful way to spend Christmas. But Australia is a pretty nice place to spend Christmas too. We've often had houses with pools, and um, that makes for a nice Christmas. And yeah, it's a different tradition. We don't necessarily stick to. We certainly don't have turkey. I don't know anyone who has turkey at Christmas. It's a big Northern Hemisphere thing, isn't it?
yeah, no, we do. It's just the chicken and the lamb, I think, is
Yeah,
the main
generally. Yeah,
roast.
my mother used to make a rice salad every Christmas,
Mm.
which was pretty ghastly. Hmm. But and have
And
cold meat. Cold ham is a big thing, isn't
yeah,
it? We don't eat pork, because we're appropriating the Arab culture, of course. Um,
of course, the big thing that's like overshadowing us all at the moment is the here in Sydney, the um, attack in Bondi last
mm,
week. It's, cast a bit of a somber pall on everything. And,
yeah,
we're um, a little bit, I was going to go into the city with some friends the other day and, they said, oh, well, is that safe?
yeah. Oh, it's funny,
Like,
isn't it? Yeah,
yeah, just,
this
and things
is
you'd never think about. You'd never think, well, is it? Like, is it
no,
safe? And that's the whole point of the
yeah.
terrorism. It's
It's to make you feel
to
unsafe.
make you
It's to
feel,
terrorize the Jews every time they try and have a community event, but all of us as well. Even I was at what's it called? Westfield the other day, um, that great Jewish institution of shopping. And it was packed, obviously, Westfield at this time of year. And I had a thought. I was just standing there waiting for my husband to go and do something, and I thought, I wonder how many of these people are thinking about what would I do if
mm.
there was a gunman here. It's really, um, I don't know, it certainly doesn't make us cower generally, but, it makes you think about the purpose of terrorism. And I've spoken to a lot of Muslims, particularly fundamental Muslims, political
Mm.
Muslims, about this stuff. And even when I had a restaurant, I remember saying to one of the guys, just debating, I was always happy to talk about generally about their politics and, try and convince you of their way and talking about the concept of political nonviolence. And I said, well, if I had said some things about Islam that weren't pleasant, someone come and bomb my restaurant, um, that wouldn't be good. He said, well, you know what, the consequences are. So why would you do that? You know,
And that's
eh,
the point of it, isn't it?
that's the point.
Yeah.
I said, so all you need to keep people silent is the threat of violence. And he said, well, that's, just the way it is. And, for some people, they don't have the commitment to political nonviolence in their culture. They don't have it in their ideology. And that's, I'm not talking about Muslims. I'm not talking about Arabs even at the moment. Even in Western, the left, particularly the left and the extreme right, they don't have that commitment to political nonviolence. And I wonder if we need to start teaching children again how much of our stability is due to that basic principle.
But yeah, like a lot of the left is really rooted in this eventual revolution.
Mm,
Like religious people have the, the second coming or going to heaven, or they have these like religious events that are going to transpire one day. But on the left, there is a big contingent of people who strongly believe, or even just like tangentially hope that the revolution will come. And like one of the big differences, I think, is that you have an active role in the revolution. Like
mm,
you can pick up a gun and make it happen.
yeah,
Um,
makes you feel
and
part of something.
yeah, and any
Mm,
ideology that says, okay, the way forward isn't to convince people, it isn't to build a base, it isn't to, you know, get everyone on side and whatever. The way forward is to pick up a gun.
yeah.
Like it,
And I think a
you
lot
can't,
of
you can't reason with that.
the debates I've been having over the last couple of years, away from gender and more to do with Middle East politics, um, some of them, you get to the point where you're thinking, all right, this is a long way away, but it's also something to do with the the, the political structures that we believe in. And the
Mm,
thing is, with a lot of terrorist organizations, is that they're financially invested in perpetual revolution. These are businesses. That's my take on it. I remember during the Syrian issue with all the refugees, speaking to someone who was trying to take their family member out of Syria, and they said you have to pay Hezbollah to get them out because they control the border.
mm.
And I said, as a Christian, do you think that's ethical? And I said, well, that's just how it works. I'm never going to get them out unless I pay Hezbollah the money and they'll provide the service.
Mm,
So
yeah,
they're a business who control the borders and they're a business invested in perpetual revolution. And a lot of that is the market, which is why I think it's blind of some um, Marxists, allegedly Marxists, who are supporting these organizations and think that, like in Iran, that they're going to help them get the revolution and not lose their heads, which they obviously would, um, up against terrorists. They blind themselves to a particular sort of economics of terrorism, which I find
yeah.
astounding. So when this happened, a lot of us were really angry because we'd been supporting the concept of political nonviolence, particularly the concept of political nonviolence towards the Jews, which cost us something like 70 million lives in World War II. Many of us have
Mm,
grown up with parents or grandparents. My parents were kind of silent generation people. They both grew up during the Depression and the war. And many of us, I think, feel really angry that these principles have gone by the wayside. And we've been arguing about them for a while, and we've been gaslit by people who are, vesting themselves in this side. So there's a mixture of grief, I think, in the Australian community at the moment and anger. And I don't think there's a problem with that. Albanese is getting a bit of a going over. He's being booed at, which is the left are absolutely aghast at. All of a sudden, they're all into being respectful to the office of the Prime Minister. Um, but I just think we've got to really have a good look at ourselves and think about these things seriously.
we do. The, and really think about, I'm hoping that mm, yeah, um, I'm hoping that some people do take the opportunity to like, yeah, to look at actually what's going on. And some of the narratives that are being spun out of it. So, um, on the one hand, there's a really strong call against immigration, and um, but on the other hand, Albanese is trying to spin this as being like something to crack down on freedom of speech. So
Yeah,
they're strengthening provisions against hate speech, which I mean, those terrorists, they didn't get on a bridge and hate speech people to death.
no.
They shot people to death. And
Mm,
they didn't do it because they'd seen neo-Nazis exercising their democratic right to go and make fools of themselves and,
mm,
do a Hitler salute, which is like the,
mm.
most embarrassing thing in the world. But it's their democratic right to embarrass themselves, right?
Yeah,
They didn't do it because of that. They did it because they believe in this dangerous, religiously rooted ideology
very
that
specific
says,
ideology.
very
Yeah.
specific ideology that says that, if you make a martyr of yourself and if you murder Jews, you'll go to heaven or you go
Mm.
to um,
Paradise.
paradise. Um, yeah, like, yeah.
Yeah, they won't
So,
put they're terrified, which makes me annoyed in another level because they're all praising Ahmed, which
yeah,
who is obviously a great guy. And they're so surprised that this Syrian, man from a Muslim family, is such a hero. Doesn't surprise me at all. They're just people. They're just, and particularly from Syria. And if he was in the Syrian police, he's a man that's not unaccustomed to terror and standing up against terror. Um, but he's just an ordinary person. I'm not against multiculturalism. I'm not, right. When obviously I've married someone from a Muslim family and have had relationships and loved many Muslim people in my life. But I think we shouldn't be frightened to say it's Islamic. It's Islamism
yeah. Well,
and
it's that
point to it.
radical, it's that radical thing. Just like there's the Labour Party and then there's the radical socialist, like crazy people who are
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, let's get guns. Or
And
there's
you could
there's the
define that.
right wing of the Liberal Party, and then there are like
Yeah, Nazis.
crazy people, crazy Nazis who are
Yeah.
like, yeah, let's deport the brown people.
And you can define that easily by saying this is what it's characterized by, and you can point it out. You don't have to pretend that it's all the same, that all Muslims are the same, but you do have to say that it is a section of Islam, and it's a growing section. It's funded by, we know where the funding comes
Again, it's a
from.
business.
It is a
Again, it's a
business. Yeah,
business.
it's a power thing. It's an ideology, and it's an ideology that's paid for. A friend of mine who was from Damascus, I remember asking him, where does it come from? And he said that it started on the outer suburbs of Damascus. And the poor kids, I pick up the poor kids, they're funding them. There's a lot of money. He said there's just so much money that you
Mm.
just couldn't resist it. The kids from the families who couldn't make a living just got caught up in this thing, and they would work for ISIS. So it's not a mysterious thing that comes from the ground. It's got a political strategy. It comes from funding. You follow the money. You follow the where these little guys are being bred in that. Some mosques and some prayer rooms, which it's not rocket science to root it out.
The problem is all of us on Facebook having an opinion.
That's right.
And
We're
that's
all
what they're going to
arguing with
crack
each
down
other.
on. And
Yeah.
again, like it just comes down to this, political homelessness, where
Mm.
again, like the power structures are interested in maintaining themselves as power structures. They're not interested in the enfranchisement of
Yeah.
like us as people.
And the Albanese left are interested in maintaining their own power as well. And Jacinta Allen's been out saying she's going to crack down on hate speech. And we know for a fact they're going to put gender identity on the same level as anti-Semitism. So we know that we're going to be, for recognizing a man, we know that we're going to be exactly the same as someone who has guns in their house ready to shoot, the
Yeah.
Jews. So that's been a problem that we've tracked these last couple of years. We've been doing this now, I think you said for a couple to 2 years or so.
Yeah, since 2023.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we've not been very diligent in getting it made lately. And we are going to put a lid on it, I think. Is that's
Yeah.
what we decided? If you can't do
Yeah.
something properly, you shouldn't bother doing it. And we're both a bit too busy to give this the attention it deserves. So, mm,
Yeah, that's it. We're done.
yeah, we're
So
done.
this will be our last dollhouse.
Mm.
And I think it's going to free us up to focus on other things and,
Yeah, for
just
26, we're going to be doing other things in 26. We're just going to do a summary today of. I think we haven't discussed this, but I think we should call it Kit and Eddie were right about everything again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
I
good.
think, yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
what we were right about this year? What happened this year that we were right about?
Look, tons of stuff. I was actually just reviewing my notes earlier and I did manage to make a lot of notes and to sort of pay attention to what was happening in the press quite a bit this year.
Hmm.
And we had quite a lot of developments all the way through the year, which is like
Yeah, it's
quite
been a big year.
spectacular. It's
Yeah.
been a big year. And we started out in January with the Queensland government ordering an independent review into puberty blockers,
Hmm.
which is like, yay.
Yeah. Finally, we've
Yeah.
we've had
Yay.
Gillian Spencer issue here for a while, where she was removed, and we've been tracking that right from the beginning as well. We when we did an episode about Dr. Stathis and how he had admitted at a conference that there was no evidence that puberty blockers were had any effect. We also did an episode about the Four Corners where they
Blocked.
were, yeah, blocked, where they were complaining about poor little Sapphire who couldn't get his puberty blockers and he was getting shipped off to Queensland so we could sterilise him up here. Um, who knows what's happened to Sapphire, but we've tried to outline how damaging that whole ideology is and how biased the ABC has been on that issue.
Yeah, so the ABC obviously the way they covered it ha has been, I mean, like just reprehensible. And they have, they've come out with quite a few articles, opinion pieces, and the kind of flavor of reporting that we've seen from the ABC over time that's sort of like news pinion kind of,
Mm.
it's like it looks like news, but it's actually just four or five activists being interviewed for their news grabs and for
teaching
their
and
opinions. Yeah.
teaching other leftist people how to have an opinion on this issue.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
what our opinion is on this issue, and this is what your
And
opinion should be on this issue
this
if
is
you're
how
a
your
good
opinion.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've tried to counter that. And I think I think we've seen certainly not our fault from our little podcast, but since we've been doing it, we have seen a broader take up of our arguments, of the turf arguments
Mm.
throughout the media, particularly on the right, where people, when you can just see in the comments that they're more informed.
Yeah.
For instance, when we first started the narrative that puberty blockers were a pause, would have been a massive narrative. But now, if anyone says that, you'll get dozens and dozens of people saying that's just not true.
Yeah.
98% of people who go on puberty blockers go on to cross-sex hormones and they lose the opportunity to have a puberty at all. So we know that is a fact from the UK evidence. So I think the information, the world is different to when we started, I think.
Mm.
Yeah,
Well, the word's getting out there a lot more. And say, like when we first started, I think when we first started, you could get banned on Facebook or
Yes.
Twitter for
Well, I
saying
was, yeah.
some of this stuff. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, okay. So moving on in
Mm.
February, of course, Queensland government is banned, is has put a pause on puberty blockers. And so OzPath established 491. This is where basically you can sign up for financial assistance to see a
Mm.
private health practitioner who'll give you the puberty blockers. So, and then if you're a member of the public, you can donate to this project and fund the sterilizing interventions provided by private GPs. So, OzPath, which is it's independent, but it follows WPath.
Mm.
Um, I mean, you can just anyone, you're qualified to join if you are a medical practitioner, someone in the healthcare field, or you are trans and gender diverse.
Yeah, it's not genuinely a
Yeah,
research sort
no.
of hub of medicine. It's not actual medicine. It's ideology and fetishization. And Genevieve has exposed that. If you want to follow Genevieve Gluck, you'll get much more detailed, scary information on that.
And also we got Josh Zepps, who's a former ABC journalist, came out and did this really long uh, video where he's talking about the Trump derangement syndrome and the newsroom capture at the ABC, which is kind of interesting, like now that,
Mm.
he's out of the ABC, he kind of felt able to to talk about the stifling atmosphere that
Yeah.
they had there. And he did sort of focus it on Trump, but he did talk a little bit about the gender stuff as well.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, so it kind of just it gave us a little bit of a confirmation of those suspicions that we
Yeah.
had. And then moving on in April, like so much happened in April this year. So South Australia ordered a review into the gender service. Netherlands stopped self-ID. Yay.
Yeah. Let's hope that'll be
Um,
Queensland soon.
we had Michelle Telfer was outed as the gender expert who, by the court, apparently, one
Yeah.
of the courts said, "Look, we had this gender expert who just like misled us and lied and said that refusing puberty blockers was like Nazi Germany, and and it turns out it was none other than Michelle Telfer.
Yeah,
But
shock,
bow."
surprise. Yeah, we've also uh, highlighted her, Dr. Kabuki, and I think we've referred to her as over the time we've been doing the podcast. And um, many TERFs in Australia have exposed her as doing a horrific kind of medicine, and she's had a massive influence throughout Australia on our public health system, which used to be excellent. And I think it's highlighted how easily it can be captured
Mm.
because it's so connected to each other, and it's a fairly efficient sort of machine. Um, the one part gets captured and it can go right through the whole system. But when this
Yeah.
is over, we should probably look at that too.
I mean, I did a bit of digging into her background, and I mean, she's an interesting character
Mm.
in that, she was a Commonwealth silver medal gymnast
Yeah, she
when
was an
she was
athlete. Yeah.
young. And you get that sense of like, oh, the overachiever,
Mm.
um, yeah, like that,
Yeah.
it's never good enough.
No.
And then when she went into medicine, she was kind of interested in psychiatry and kind of interested in adolescent medicine.
Mm.
And then the guy who ran the gender clinic at Royal Children's Hospital, Melbourne, he was retiring. And she sort of thought, and this was her own word, she thought, well, I could do that and just,
And
you
she
know,
can. It's easy
yeah,
because there's
right.
no medicine
Well,
involved. Yeah.
um, and so, it was one of those things where it was this tiny practice where he had, two or three cases, And most of the cases were children who were born with DSDs, who had who had genuine issues, like they had endocrine issues, they
Mm.
had their bodies were different, and they kind of did need psychological counseling because they were dealing with, oh, I've
Had
got
to
XY
deal with,
chromosomes, but I look
yeah,
like a woman or whatever.
yeah.
Um,
They're
uh,
massive issues. Having a problem with your sexual development is a massive issue in life,
yeah, or
particularly
like
when it means you
yeah.
can't, reproduce. All those things are, I mean, she's stopping people from reproducing. She's creating, these issues, isn't she?
Well, she came in and she grew the business. Again, it's a business.
Yeah,
Like
it is a business. Yeah, it's
she,
and it's a bureaucratic system. Women are good at this. One of the this narrative we've been constantly up against that women have made all these problems for themselves. And why are women's in the bureaucracy? Women are pretty good at bureaucratic things. They're good at,
yeah.
they're not necessarily egotists, but they're quite achievers when you put them they're obviously got the same level of intelligence as men, but do have a different set of skills often, and they're often very good at this kind of thing. Okay, let's get this science, and put it right through
Mm.
Australia. We'll make a standardized procedure. And the first person we have mentioned a number of times to expose her was Bernard Lane,
Bernard
um,
Lane.
who exposed her in the
Yeah.
Australian years ago, and
Mm.
she made a complaint to the Press Council. And then the ABC did a boohoo story about her, if that's taking us back a few years now, where she was positioned as a hero for children. And she was bringing this wonderful medicine to children, this miraculous medicine to children. And Bernard Lane was the very dark prince who was destroying all the dreams of the children who could change their sex, magically change their sex from this wonderful doctor person. And Bernard Lane was driven, I think, almost to the edge of his, you know, capacity as a human being. He
Mm.
was so badly affected and parted ways with the Australian. Um, I don't think the Australian did the right thing then, and I've made that clear over the couple of years, even though they're doing a good job now, which we'll get to. Um, they were a bit slow, I think, to back up the journalists and to really scrutinise
Mm.
this great wrong that's been happening in this country.
And that's what I mean, Bernard, to his credit, he didn't sort of slink off. He started his Gender Clinic News
That's right, yeah.
on Substack, and he's just been pumping out articles ever since. He's made it his
Yeah.
focus, his mission. And without Bernard, I don't know where we'd be today.
No, and
Um,
he's also been, we can say, very single focused.
yeah.
You won't hear him like me going off talking about Middle East or talking about anything else. He absolutely has the focus of um, a bloodhound on this issue and
Mm.
has never left it. And he's made himself the absolute expert on it. I remember early on, I spoke to him. I said, "How do you, I was thinking about making a database or something about all the information." I said, "How do you keep it together? Like, what system do you have?" He said, "To tell the truth, most of it's in my head."
Yeah.
So you could ring him and say, "What do you think about this, Bernard?" And he'd just pick out of his massive brain where it came from, what the root of it is, how, just pull out the reference to it. So yeah, he's had a singular focus, and we can, if we were giving out end of Dollhouse prizes, we'd give one to Bernard Lane.
If we had one.
I could send him
Yeah.
some down those nice Lebanese sweets that I've got. But,
Yeah. Yeah, we had yeah, all sorts of stuff happen in April. We had Drew Hutton came out publicly supporting Woman Up.
yeah.
Great, go Woman Up.
Yeah, good on Sue and Leah.
Yeah. We had the four women Scott win in the UK, which is
Massive,
like,
yeah.
it just changed everything, I think, over there, changed the conversation.
It did, yeah.
Um,
It did. Was that when did the executive order, was that last year with the Trump?
The executive order. Did I not? Yeah, well, the executive order came out. I didn't even note that in my
Oh
in
my
my
God. How
notes.
I employ you, Kit Kowski. I don't know. I give you one job, which is the only job either of us have done, which is make a list. I slept in,
Yeah.
stumble over to
Yeah,
my
so I
computer.
mean, I guess yeah, the Trump,
I think
yeah,
the
Trump
reason
came
I think of those,
online,
I think of those
executive order.
together because it's not that they came together. I don't
Mm.
know what dates it were, but both those things have kind
Vivid.
of shift the global atmosphere, I think. Because two big nations, our masters in the colonial world, have both recognised that human sex is a real thing.
Yeah, and then
That's important.
yeah, so okay, the Trump executive order was January. My note taking is terrible.
It's actually excellent.
But it,
I'm
yeah.
having a go, but yeah, she's got a good
May
list here.
Mailman was a big contributor to it,
Yes,
and the way it's
it was a
written
turf.
is
Yeah,
just perfect.
I think very
Um,
influenced, if we can say, also by the American turfs, particularly
by Cara,
Karadansky.
yeah.
Mm.
Um, and she's a Mal Mailman. She's a right-wing lawyer, I believe, over there, and obviously a turf, and it is good to see them like working across the aisle, I think.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
we had Nancy May, who came out kind of calling everyone trannies, um, which our left wing sisters would have always scorned us for because it's a bad look. But it
Bad word.
turns out it just made a joke of the whole thing, and
Yeah.
overwhelmed. And so, and at one point she got up in the house and said tranny, 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 just to just to reinstate that as a legitimate thing to say, which we all found hilarious.
For Women's Scott, it was a huge win, but
Yeah,
over there, they already had woman in the law and they had to fight to recognize
yeah,
that woman means woman. So here we
yeah.
don't have that. We don't have woman in the law.
No. And for Women Scotland have been a amazing force. I met them when I went over there, and just tremendous women. And they launched a action to the Supreme Court, and they won. And we remember those great scenes of Menno coming out with his arms up in the
Yeah.
air. Yeah, and he's done some great work too. You know, if we want to give some credit to some blokes, he's covered a lot of that stuff as well. And yeah, it's been a great ride over there for the UK.
Well, they still have the Gender Recognition Act,
Mm.
and which they'll need to get rid of. And also, there's a lot of institutions that are just saying we're not going to comply.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of activists saying, well, you don't have to comply. And
no.
just because woman means woman doesn't mean that you have to exclude trans women. And
We find
um,
out through this as well how much these institutions really want to um, go against women. They really don't, it's not that they had to, oh, we have to take out the women's toilets because we're obliged to do it. No, no, no.
no, they want to.
They
They want
really
to.
want to have
Yeah.
women denied these facilities, single sex facilities. They enjoy it. They think it's a great bit of fun. Um, so the fight goes on for the UK turfs.
Yeah. And then we've got. Oh, yes. So, in response, of course, to the For Women Scott, our Anna Cody and the Australian Human Rights Commission came out in support of the trans
Hmm.
women.
Of course they did, yeah.
So it's either don't talk about it in Australia or, talk about the effect that it has on the poor men, the
Yeah.
poor darlings. But a little light at the end of the tunnel was Sal Grover appeared on the project
Mm.
in April, which
That's
was
quite a thing, yeah. Well, the project doesn't
huge.
exist anymore, so it was really scraping for some,
So, uh,
it was a bit jumping the shark, wasn't it? Let's try and get this show back on the road.
yeah, it's like, well,
Um,
we're not relevant. We're ideologues. We just,
Yeah.
we can't tell the
And
truth, but let's give it one go.
yeah, and what one of the women, I don't know who it was, but just about rolled her eyes the whole time. No intelligent argument though. No, oh, here I've got Sal Grover on. Here I'm going to put all the smart arguments against women having their own things, and we'll really show her up. No, it's all the eye rolling and oh, of course, trans women you're ignoring, they're real women, all the rest of the bullshit that these women go on about. Um,
They'd probably be more polite to a multiple murderer, honestly. The way they
They
treated
would
her was
be,
pretty bad.
yeah, like she was the dirt on the bottom of their shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just talking to Sal on tweets the other day about when we first encountered each other was during the fight for the MacArthur bars in Sydney, which
Oh,
was
right.
quite some time ago. And one day we'll go back and get those bars back. We're
Yeah,
going back for
I mean the
everything.
funny thing about the women's pool in Coogee is that they've been letting men in for ages.
Mm,
Like they kind of just had this thing because they don't really have anyone on the door taking your money, and most of the time it's a bucket and you just throw your $2 in.
yeah,
Um, so and
it's an honor
they
system.
yeah, so they've been letting
Mm,
trans women or men in bikinis
mm,
go in for ages, as long as they're, polite, respectful, blah, blah, blah. It's that,
yeah.
but
Which
as
they're
soon
not,
as,
because they're men.
well,
Eventually,
yeah,
they're gonna, like they studied, to threaten to piss in the pool and shit in the pool and all sorts of things if they,
as soon as their right to go in was challenged,
yeah,
they they showed how disrespectful
how
they
they're
are.
men. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're men. That's our message. If we can leave one message, they're all men.
They're all men, absolutely all of them.
Mm,
Yeah. And okay, so then in May we had New South Wales elections, which was sort of not super exciting because I think I voted Libertarian because because they're the party that have been like the most gender critical,
mm,
had the most gender critical representatives and policies. Um,
yeah. Although, he's not a bad guy, is he? The Labor guy. I mean,
Chris
yeah,
Minns.
yeah.
I
You think?
mean,
I mean, he.
they're all pretty committed to women not having rights
That's
in the
right,
Labor
yeah.
Party.
Apart from
So
the fact that they've put in the most radical self-ID legislation along with human trafficking and all the stuff that it and failure to protect girls from prostitution, apart from the fact that they've taken away all those protections.
apart from all of those things,
Yeah,
okay, he's fine.
he's not
But
as bad as the
yeah,
others.
well, I mean, it's
They're all male dominated,
mm,
ideologies, aren't they? It's so depressing that it doesn't seem to be any better than it was 100 years ago.
yeah, it's the same arguments that we're having to have. It's the same arguments.
In fact, the protections that were put in kind of the post-Victorian era against girls being trafficked into prostitution are being removed.
Mm.
So we're getting, the prostitution abolitionists who did some good work. A lot of the work they did is being taken away. So um, yeah.
Well, we had well, I mean, the social media ban has just come in. I mean, quote unquote social media ban for
Mm,
under 16s. Um, and it's still under 16s can still access social media, so it's not actually a ban at all.
yeah.
Um, but like it doesn't, one of the biggest vectors for like one of the biggest new vectors for girls going into prostitution is social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok
Mm,
because OnlyFans I'm going to call them creators because that's what we know them as. Um, OnlyFans creators can't advertise on OnlyFans, and so they go to places like Instagram and TikTok,
Yeah.
and Twitter and other places where like where there's an audience to try to drum up an audience, like a subscription audience for their content
They shield
on
what they do
OnlyFans.
in
Yeah,
euphemism,
and they shill it to
euphemisms.
teenage girls.
Yeah, they do, and a
They
glamorous
normalize it.
lifestyle.
Let's see what else we had in May. We had WA introduced self-ID. So,
Yeah,
um,
that was the
yeah,
last state. Was it the
that
last
was
state?
it. Yeah, we've got self-ID across the board in
Yeah.
Australia now. It's taken them a while. Um, we also had the Unsaid Says a Lot campaign launched as part of the
Mm.
Victorian LGBTIQAA plus strategy that got initial $6.5 million to deliver the strategy. Um, and so the Unsaid Said a Lot was the series of ad campaigns. One of them featuring a man who goes into a lift, and the woman in the lift looks at him and then gets uncomfortable and leaves the lift.
We did an episode on that as well,
We
didn't
did a
we?
whole episode on
Just taking the piss
that.
out of it because it was ridiculous.
And
And it's
yeah,
also rape culture. I think that was one of the points that we made. That shaming women for having sexual boundaries is rape culture.
it
And
is.
so
Yeah.
we're spending money. This is our taxpayer money that is being spent on effectively on rape culture, which we objected to, I think, in fairly strenuous terms.
And there were some excellent parodies of that. Thank you, Mr. Menno. Thank you, Celine Against the
Hmm.
Machine. Um,
And
uh,
it barely needs to be parodied. I mean, it was bad enough as it was, wasn't it? And the fact that these people who are stewed in Melbourne gender identity world thought that this was going to be a great idea
and
and
that
that
they needed
everyone
to
was
educate the rest of us. Like,
and everyone wasn't going to take the piss out of it was you know, Melbourne continues to astound me in its its complete capture and the how effective Dan Andrews was. He's got a mysterious illness now. I don't want to make fun of him in case he dies. I look like a horrible person. But his court case is coming up where he had an accident.
he ran over someone, didn't he? He ran over a
Well,
cyclist.
allegedly,
Allegedly.
let's be, careful about this, Kit Kowalski. Allegedly, there was an incident where he did permanent physical damage to someone, and then there may or may not have been a cover-up about it. We don't know. Um, but it coincides with his court date where he's having to face the music for that he's developed a terrible, mysterious illness. And the current Premier of New South Wales was choked up with tears at the thought of it the other day. Much more tears than she was compelled to, with of course the Bondi massacre, and her response to that has been that she wants to put more hate speech legislation in, which we know will target, the women, the people who are going to be arrested in Victoria over any hate speech legislation that's brought in stronger in the wake of the Bondi massacre are women saying that men
Well,
can't change sex.
yeah, like what we're seeing in the UK is, like what is it? I saw this a stat the other day. They had something like, was it 1,200 or it was 1,200 arrests in the
For
UK for
non-crime hate incidents, is it?
yeah, like
No.
naughty tweets and Facebook posts and things. They're just going around to people's houses and arresting them for saying offensive stuff or saying normal stuff on Facebook, the kind of
Yeah,
stuff you're supposed to be able to have a
that
gripe
regular people
about,
say, yeah. I wonder
you know.
if, and this is my interest, ahead of gender identity probably, I wonder if these techniques, these population management strategies, if they're finally, because I saw in the paper today that they're finally getting rid of non-hate, what do they call them? Non-crime hate incidents. in the UK, years and years after it was found to be illegal. Um, and I wonder if they're finally realizing that these strategies are ineffective, that the kind of social disruption they cause um, is more difficult to manage. That maybe you can't, they keep trying to manage the things we think. These are all strategies that are coming from the UN mostly.
And
Um,
again, yeah, it is like, again, it is a business. So, yeah, how do you get more funding?
it's
Well,
an
you need
industry,
to
yeah.
show you have more work, that you need more bodies, right?
Yes,
That's how you
yeah.
get more funding.
Yeah, it's definitely an industry. Yeah, that's I don't know, maybe it's in decline. And I know that is it Tanya Grunwald from This Isn't Working podcast. I met her in the UK when I went there as well, at the conference that was held in Westminster. The Ideas Conference, I can't remember, but she has launched a business where she is trying to show employers that this is ineffective, that these things are all um, causing, more trouble than they're worth. I think she's just done a tweet about 20 major companies in the UK and US are pulling out of Pride. So they're finding that it's a massive industry that seems to be, her lips to God's ears, in decline.
Mm,
Let's hope. Let's
yeah.
hope that it does. I mean, if the arse falls out of the equity industry, your friend Teddy Cook's not going to have much employment.
Well, one of
She might be stuck on the unemployment line.
yeah, well, one of the things with the equity industry is that um, it creates so many high-paying jobs or relatively high-paying jobs for relatively unqualified people.
Yeah. Well, they might be
Um,
qualified, but they're unskilled.
yeah, and
They're
so
they're only qualified in the area of this population management strategy thing, where you tell people, you shame people for believing things that are normal.
yeah, and so for example, in Pride and Diversity, I've been reviewing a lot of their training videos
Hmm.
recently, and the thing is, the training was developed by people who have no grounding in how to train people. They have no grounding in sociology or social work or any of those, or psychology or any of those disciplines you might kind of expect.
They've got my
No,
degree. Before it, actually,
no, they don't.
in
They
defense
don't.
of
They're
my
just,
degree, I did get to a proper politics degree before it became all the studies. It became, colonial studies and this studies and that studies.
well, they
Yeah.
don't even have politics degrees. Like
No.
you pick a discipline that you would
Mm.
expect someone who's like doing DEI training to have some sort of background in. They don't have it. They're
No.
people, they have on the job training and they have lived experience,
Yeah.
right? And they're picked out because they're like charismatic people,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
they're charismatic and they're influential, they're influencers. And that's,
Can I say that there's another, the anti-woke, these are the woke, the anti-woke are almost identical mirror image.
yeah,
I
right?
hate I hate to bring that up, but the Kalani Group, which is the think tank for GenSpec,
It's the
apart from a
same
couple of
thing.
standouts, like I think
Jillian.
Gillian Spencer, who's
Yeah.
obviously a brilliant woman, but most of them are basically idiots. Helen Pluckrose, who I've highlighted on the show quite a bit. I mean, she's got a degree in medieval studies or some such thing. You know,
Mm.
um, a lot of these guys, James Lindsay's got a mathematics degree. You know, a lot of these anti-woke guys, they've got no real basis in political analysis. That
Mm.
that they're basically morons. It's not, and it doesn't take much brains. For instance, it doesn't take much brains to construct the gender identity argument. There doesn't take much brains to deconstruct it either.
No, it's
It's
very
a
straightforward, right? It's Like,
It's
and
a
that's
very easy argument to dismantle. It's like those memes where they have the cat, and they say they've got gender identity and someone presses it and the cat falls over and they say the slightest argument will knock the thing over because it's absolutely nonsense, the whole thing, which is what we say in the beginning of the podcast. It's nonsense.
it's
Um,
nonsense.
and
Yeah.
so you've got a bunch of idiots being talked to in the current political discourse. It's all very lowbrow as far as
The
I can see.
the thing that makes it really dangerous though, and it's on both sides. I'm really glad you called that out because it's on both sides. Um, that it's so tempting, and like as a commentator, as a researcher, it's so tempting to make it more than it is.
Yeah.
It's to say, oh, I can show these links.
Yeah, it's a
I can
conspiracy
make it a conspiracy, or
that's
I
come from the
can.
feminists. They were
It's
all trying to take over the world and
yeah.
emasculate all the men. That's why transgenderism is from the feminists, is because they're emasculating all the men and they want us all to become women.
Or that
It's
it's the transhumanists, or it's the this or the that, or
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
there isn't actually an easy answer to it, and that's the
No,
problem with it. There's no one, not like you can go to the mothership and destroy the hive,
no.
and
And
then
it's both not an easy
you
answer, and
can't do it.
there is an easy answer in the sense that it's the same kind of historical corruption that continues to plague governments over and over again. It's money, it's power, it's class,
And
it's sexism.
I think
Um,
that's where you and I really like strongly agree on this. It's that it's not that there's an evil empire out there. There's no guy in a basement
with a
stroking a
cat.
cat.
Yeah. We did talk about that at one
No, we talk
point.
about it a lot. Like there's no one guy sort of like calling the shots and
Yeah,
stroking his cat. It's everybody gets a little bit,
yeah,
the mum gets attention for
yeah,
transing her kid, right? That the school gets to feel like they're doing something inclusive.
yeah.
The corporation gets to, get little brownie points and put something else on their advertising. And
Mm.
like we all get a little bit out of it.
And the discipline is similarly multidisciplined, multifaceted. If you disagree, you may just get a little meeting at work where everyone frowns at you. You may
Mm.
lose your job. You may not be able to work in that industry again. You may be like Sal Grover, where you have to raise millions of dollars just to defend your right to say that a man doesn't change sex into a woman. You may be like Kirralie Smith, who is called by the state now a violent person for um, for saying things that are true and for defending a women's rights to have sport without being bloody hounded by these big gross blokes. So it's not um, the problem with the modern left, the problem with reactionary politics is that they do fall into simplistic narratives when really um, the answers are often found in
It
the narratives our parents gave us,
and
Political
it's just
nonviolence is
our
one.
human behavior. Like at the
Yeah,
end of it, it's that Faustian bargain. If you get something and then the price comes later where you realize, oh, I can't I can't say no anymore
yeah,
because I already said yes and I didn't know what I was saying yes to.
yeah,
And I said, oh, sure, Kevin, who now thinks his name's Loretta, you can come in the
mm,
bathroom with me. That's fine. We're friends. And you
yeah,
don't realize, what are you saying yes to? You're saying yes to
yeah.
everyone.
And it is connected to a more global politics and global economy where Western nations are going into massive amounts of debt. They're spending like drunken sailors without any responsibility. They're ignoring real problems which may actually lead to a massive crash and, problems that we haven't seen since the Great Depression. Um, there may be a massive um, problem there that exists as well as the smaller problems which we face every
Mm.
day. Um, but there's no the analysis of that is very marginal. And in the internet age, we hear the people that speak the loudest. We hear the idiots like James Lindsay who are saying it's all women's fault. Um, and he can track it. And he tries to do this sort of Foucauldian, ironically, um, genealogy of thoughts. This is the person who first said it. Therefore, that utterance of the thought
Yeah.
has expanded with no reason. And everyone's listening to women all of a sudden, which nobody ever listened to ever. And we've got this, you know, constructs these ridiculous ideas. And because people aren't educated in these things, that they tend to believe them.
If you say, yeah, it's the person who sort of sounds the smartest, right? Like they sound like
Yeah,
they know what's going on.
I
Yeah.
think, yeah, we see that too in some of these. Let's not talk too much about it, but the
Yeah.
Palestinian stuff too, where they start to give you the history of what's happened in the Middle East. Well, 50 years ago, people would know the history of the Middle East.
Mm.
Well, now they're not, and they say, well, this is what's happened. And everyone goes, oh, no, it's a colonial conspiracy. And the Jews and all the money and wow, yeah, we didn't know that. So the lack of education, the lack of basic education in schools is causing a problem where people do become vulnerable to these narratives as
Mm.
well.
And we become, and I see it with my kids, is like the education is about, like it isn't about facts, it's about power, it's about transference of power, and it's
Mm,
about trying to upend the power balance, right? So there's like a political outcome of the kids' education, and it
yeah,
isn't to tell them what happened or to even, and I admit like there's facts and there's facts, right?
yeah,
So there's um, there are like the narrative about our history that I was taught is obviously like there's a political motive behind that, which is
mm,
to align everyone to the narrative.
mm.
Um,
To the empire, we did
yeah,
come from an empire, and
yeah,
we had an imperial narrative, and it did send a lot of people to war.
mm,
And my grandfather was one of them. He was very proud of his service to the empire. But really, um, you know, what was it all for? Particularly the First World War, you know.
mm,
And, you know, it's okay to say that stuff, to revisit history and to say, well, what were women's role? What's women's role? I used to love women's history. What were women doing while these big men were doing these big things? Um, I don't have any objection. I'm left-wing leaning to it, but yeah, there is a,
it's harder and harder to be a lefty.
well, I don't think it doesn't mean anything
It's
anymore.
harder and harder. It's harder and harder.
Yeah, yeah, that's us old. You and I must be the last ones. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure there'll be a few people who will
Oh, and
listen and
the
hear that
the
and think,
criticism we get from the stupidest people in the world for actually suggesting that we have a left-wing heritage is,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, unless you actually subscribe to the omnicause, which is the current litany of
yeah,
whatever
the
the organized
revolution.
left are
Yeah.
supposed to be supporting today.
Yeah, and agree everything that
So,
you're told. Like they decide the narrative. You see it come through even after the Bondi massacre. You see, okay, what's their response going to be? Because most of us came out absolutely furious. We told you this was going to happen. That's a lot of people were feeling that. We
mm,
told you this was going to happen. Um, and then the left took a couple of days, and then they started to come out with some other narratives. And it's cynical, but
it's the no to racism, no to anti-Semitism.
that's right.
It's
Yeah.
not religion, it's extremism.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah. Let's all
yeah,
do the kind. There's these ads about being kind that I'm seeing at the moment. I don't know if you've seen them.
yeah.
We're going to say no to hate, as if
I
hate is
already
an
say no to
independent.
hate.
Yeah, it's like it's a religious idea that's internalized. It's sin. Whenever they say it, I think it's sin. They're saying sin. We're going to say no to sin. We're going to, smack. Every time they bring something like this out, they have to find a way, here's my conspiracy theory, to blame it on the working classes and the middle classes. They have to blame it on the tax base and get the tax base to say, oh, we've done the wrong thing. Oh, we've allowed this terrible thing to happen. When it's actually those bastards that are running us, they got all their snouts in the trough. And this is a very left-wing narrative. This is what I was grown up thinking, that the politicians were all the bloody same, and the middle class had taken over the left, and that this is not, and international bodies that we all despise. This is not conspiracy theory. This is how the left used to think. We used to always think those bastards are trying to control us, and we've got to resist them entering into our private lives and our private thoughts. But now they just want to come out with these sin narratives. So it's
Yeah.
all the sin, everything terrible that
We
happens
used to
is
have
from the sin in your heart.
skepticism. We used to have like
Mm,
working class skepticism.
yeah. Well, they still do now, that now they call it right-wing extremism.
I was just talking to a friend the other day and she said, and she said how she's turned 180 degrees on her views on Pauline Hanson, right? And she's like,
Yeah, since she
I used
became
to hate
popular.
her. I didn't know why.
Mm,
I just knew that she was a bad person. But she, articulates all of these like working class viewpoints. And
that's
really,
right, yeah.
that's one of the things that, and it's one of the things that's made her really unpopular from the get-go, and it's made her unpopular with the establishment.
Yeah,
Whether you're listening and you're ready to vote for Pauline or not, I think one of my biggest sort of turnarounds in this whole movement was that skepticism that's really crept in about when Pauline first landed on the scene, how instantly she was hated and how the right thing to do was to hate her and to
mm,
not listen to her, no matter what she said, because she was some sort of horrible bigot who has no business being in politics.
no,
She's a chip shop owner. How dare she? How
nothing wrong
dare
with that.
you get
How
above
dare
your
you?
station?
And they put her in prison too, didn't they? I mean, when I
Yeah.
look back on that, I was a lefty then, and I think, oh, lock her up,
Yeah.
and now I think of how
Like, oh, hang on.
authoritarian I had allowed myself to be. It really did. I believed what they said, that she was doing this terrible thing, and then she was overturned. Oh, it's a conspiracy. Um, no, let people think for themselves.
Hmm.
Let them think. And I went to a Liberal Party function, Lord forgive me, a few weeks ago. Just was invited. I'm not part of the Liberal Party. I was invited by a friend, and some of the big players were there. So I thought, I'm going to go and have a chat with them, and I did. I spent the whole thing from one to the other, giving them the turf points. Matt Cannon, I didn't like very much. I thought I'd like him, but I didn't like him at all.
Hmm.
I did corner him for quite a little while and made him regret turning his head towards me. So that's one thing. But a lot of the young guys, I started talking to the young guys. They were saying Pauline Hanson's taken their votes, and all they need to do, the Liberal Party can pick up the working class votes. I said, well, they can do it with my issue. Everyone agrees with us about women's sport.
Yeah.
Everyone agrees with us about not sterilising children, but they won't take them up. And I said that to one of the more moderate women. I said, look, you need to take this issue up. You're too weak on it. You've got to come out strong. Otherwise, Pauline's going to take all your votes.
Hmm.
So I gave them the turf gospel. I made them regret. I got a couple of cards out of them, so I got a few that really agreed with me. Uh, Amanda Stoker, I liked. I didn't know whether
I
I'd
like
like her,
her. Yeah.
but I did like her. Yeah,
Mm.
she's a real genuine character.
Okay, so we're back after a little bit of an interruption.
It's Christmas time, so we've all got things to do.
Yeah.
I went and made some pies and Kit went did some things and we had to do family things and
It
yeah,
happens. It
we're
happens.
back. Well, it is Christmas, Adam. So
Yeah. So we're just like, recounting, some of the stuff that's been happening this year. World Boxing brought in sex testing for women's competitions, which is amazing.
yeah, we
Because of
thought
course,
at one
yeah.
point, remember we all thought once we saw a man punch a woman in the face at the Olympics, it'll all be over.
Oh,
It'll all be
yeah.
over. Once they see
It,
that,
yeah,
they'll
yeah, yeah,
know.
yeah.
And of course, then you hear everyone was convinced this is the power of the state. When people start, you get onto Facebook, particularly when you get off your little Twitter thing, and you get onto Facebook, people go, "Oh no, it's a woman." It's not a woman. It's a man. Oh, you're a bigot, and no, it's actually a man. It's actually
No,
that
I
is
mean,
actually a man.
there was a picture of him wearing a pink dress when he was younger,
Hmm. That's
obviously female.
proof. Yeah.
Far out. You
And then we
can't
all have
make it
to
up.
learn all the specifics that he's probably got this, what is it, HRD
Oh, who
5 or
knows?
whatever it is.
Yes.
And, you know, you have to go into the science of it just as when everyone can see with
It's a
their
bloke.
God-given eyes that that is a man. And he is working with a completely different set of equipment to the women. So
Yeah.
anyways, we got through that. That was in May.
Yeah.
Can you
And
believe it was so
the
long ago?
amazing thing about the sex testing is it works even without actually doing any science because
Yeah.
Emain Khalif has declared that he's not going to box while the sex testing is in place out of
No, I can't
protest.
imagine why. Yeah.
So, yay. It's from being like, oh, it's so invasive and horrible and we can't do it. Actually, it works without laying a finger.
Yeah. And he is one example of the actual use of the words assigned female at birth or assigned, yeah, female at birth because he was assigned female because he's born into quite a misogynistic culture who said if he's got a tiny little shriveled up penis, then he can't be a man,
Yeah.
um, which we know is not true. If you've got a micro penis, you can still be a man and go through a fully fledged puberty, which he did, male puberty and turn into a person who's got exactly the same equipment as other men.
An actual
Yeah,
man. Yeah. So,
an actual man.
like we've had a lot of wins this year.
We have, yeah,
I think in June we had retired Justice Strickland, who was one of the justices in the I think it was Reed Jamie puberty blocker
mm,
cases. He came out and said, "Oh, actually, if the evidence had been available to me, I would
yeah,
have decided differently." And again,
mm,
it kind of harks back to those revelations like earlier in the year that Michelle Telfer was misleading the
yeah.
court
We can
in
see how
her
the
ev
system corrupts,
evidence. Yeah.
and how they can influence the judiciary unduly. Yeah,
And I think she's been quite unethical because you're not supposed to publish the details of the minor person who's involved.
no,
But she's been like really unethical in publishing it and made it really clear who
mm,
it was that was involved in those
yeah,
cases.
mm.
Um, yeah.
And they're
Um,
stuck, right? The kids
yeah.
get stuck, and so they can say, "Oh, look at them, and they're happy now." But what are they going to do? They've got to make the most of what they've got, like we all do. And if someone's taken away your sexual function, what are you going to do?
Well, of course they're happy though. Like they're like the sacrificial lamb. So the priest class,
Hmm.
they're the ones they have to be happy
Hmm.
as the example to everyone else. And they're coddled and they're taken
Hmm.
care of. And like
Yeah.
Georgie Stone, like he's famous for being trans.
Yeah.
Um, his whole life is golden. He had a Netflix special about how wonderful he is.
Yeah. You got to. We're all waiting for the person to come forward, aren't we?
Yeah.
Um, that you know we know um, that there's a lot of these kids that aren't really happy. Yeah. I mean, Avery Jackson came out, who was the cover child of National Geographic. Um, he came out with the gender revolution. This was going to be the next social justice thing for National Geographic to come out and say that with a child, and he's obviously been chemically castrated. His mother's typical Transhausen syndrome, and he's come out as non-binary,
Mm,
which we all know is the sort of detransitional way to say, look, and his mother swore blind that he was a girl. They all swore blind that he was female. And of course, despite the fact that he has a male body, and of course, he's coming out saying, well, I'm not. I'm not female, even if he's using the words non-binary. Um,
those
I
pesky
suspect it won't
children
take
who
longer.
don't comply with the
Yeah,
narrative.
they won't do what they're told to make
Yeah.
their parents famous. And she never really got
Mm.
the fame of Jazz Jennings' mother. What's her name? I can't remember now. But she obviously has made a fortune out of her son,
Mm.
castrating her son on national television.
There are a couple of them. I think you have to be ruthless. You have to be
Mm,
completely ruthless with your
yeah,
children.
yeah, and no second guessing yourself. Most of us, I mean, you have raised children. We second guess ourselves over the most stupid things, don't we? Oh, maybe I
I
didn't send them to the
know.
right school. I did my best, and they get bullied by kid. Maybe I should have sent them to the other school, or should have taken them to the doctor sooner to get some sort of diagnosis, or I should have done this, or should have done that. We torture ourselves about what we should have done, but these women come out as the supremely confident people in what they have done to their children.
The experts. Yeah.
They have to be some sort of level of psychopath, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the lack of like for me, even when it came down to, when the kids were little and cute, like wanting to share pictures of them on social media, I don't
Hmm.
even do that
No.
because I think it robs them of something.
Yeah.
Because like I think back to when I was little, if I had had like all my pictures of me growing up being
Hmm.
embarrassing, shared,
Hmm.
how much worse would it be to be like a kidfluencer for one thing,
Hmm.
having your own Instagram channel where like people like your following
Hmm.
it expects you to perform as a child,
Hmm.
and then how much worse would it be if that following was dependent on you living out this crazy delusional fantasy that you're really the opposite sex?
Yeah. I've seen some of those YouTube programs. I can't remember. There's one that's called Evil in the Family, Devil in the Family, something like that, about one of the YouTube families. It was a Mormon family.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And she
yeah.
went absolutely insane. She started this trend, making huge amounts of money from a family, grifting. I mean, there was no transgender in it, but it was the same sort of thing where they're grifting off their kids. They're making their kids perform all the time. They're making this massive money on YouTube when YouTube was newer. Um, and she went insane, and got under the influence of another woman who had these strange practices and ended up in prison. Um, it was interesting because the father didn't, he wouldn't believe it right up until she was in prison.
Well, another development in June was our favorite podcast, Desexing Society, season
Yes,
two,
yes.
launched.
Lately
Um,
heard about Omni Australian.
yeah, mentioned prominent podcaster, Stassi
Yes,
Frey.
that's right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so season two was absolutely excellent.
Oh,
Oh, your video's gone off.
I've gone off.
Season two launched, featuring yours truly,
Yep.
like quite a few episodes actually.
Yep. Kit Kowalski,
It's
expert on Acon,
awesome.
also, which we will come to
Yeah,
lately
in the
featured in the
Australian.
Australian.
Yeah, and it's great, great series. Season one, season two. They're like Stassi's done a really good job of making a podcast for everyone else.
Mm,
And it takes you through the issues one by one.
yeah,
Even seasoned turfs will like learn something from it,
yeah,
but it's just built to share with someone.
yes,
It's built to share with your hairdresser,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is,
Well,
yeah.
many of us have. My friend started to watch it, listen to it recently, and she's very impressed. She's not my hairdresser, but she's yeah, a friend who's not in this world. And she's fairly naively, I think, sharing with all her friends. I sent it to my friend. I don't know. She said, "I'll see what she says." Okay.
Awesome. That's what it's for. Like
Yeah,
it's this great, easy deep dive into all the issues.
yeah.
I just
And good
shared
for
it with
journalists, I
someone.
think.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go
I was just going to say, I just shared it with someone, but I haven't heard back yet. So I'll see. I might have lost
Yeah,
someone.
yeah. Well, what are you going to do? I think once you get as deep into the turf world as you and I, other people accept us that we don't, we don't think humans change sex, or they don't. We can't change any of that about them.
Yeah. And look, that has been a huge toll, I think, on my life in the last 5 years is, making friends used to be a lot easier.
Yeah,
To be like, oh, we've got something in common. We're both nice people. We have fun
yeah,
together. Easy.
yeah. That's right. Well, there is a political divide. I don't know. I've certainly had a couple of people drop off my Facebook friends, but they weren't real friends or connections. Um, but I don't think I've lost any. Like most of my close personal friends were Christians, anyways,
Mm.
from my church time. Only because, not because I don't want to make people friends who are not Christians. It's that uh, you just over the series of your life, you're always going to church, and you do tend to make friends there. And you do community together in a particular way. Um, yeah, so most of those people know that humans can't change sex anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the protective factors of like the religious communities.
Yeah,
Most of
not
them are
all of them.
pretty.
Yeah,
No,
I've
there are
had
the
some
mad
friends that have gone
ones.
progressive.
Yeah.
Um, but I was arguing with those people a little while beforehand. Um, I was on doctrine issues. I was suggesting that maybe they shouldn't use French and German philosophy to reinterpret Jewish scriptures.
Let's see. In July, we had self-ID was came into effect in New South Wales, which of course is a bit of a blow.
We did a big
Yeah.
podcast on that bill, the equality bill,
Yeah.
and how dangerous it was and how it should never be passed.
Yeah, unfortunately, we put up a really good fight against it.
Mm,
But for a sort of ragtag crew of under-resourced individuals, like it was,
yeah.
it was, we were, it was always in the fight. We were never going to win, but that's
No, but it's
okay.
on record. And even I recently wrote an article about something about the prisons scandal in Victoria, and hark back to when the self-ID legislation came in, and women were going, for women from the Women's Guild were objecting to it. I think I mentioned Nina Balance.
Yeah.
Um, so, that's years after she's fought that fight and lost. Um, it's on the record. Well, actually, when they start saying it's unintended consequences, well, it might be unintended, but it wasn't unpredicted, because
Yeah.
these women put submissions in. They said this was going to happen. They're not soothsayers. They're not future predictors. They're not actual witches. Um, they knew that when you put men in women's prisons, particularly sex offenders, uh, you're going to make victims of. We're going to be re-victimizing women.
Oh, which, we know because we've had men in women's prisons in New South Wales for decades,
And we know
literal
because we're humans
decades.
who've got brains and
Yeah.
understand the way sex functions.
Well,
Yeah, well,
yeah. And then we had Giggle v Tickle. Went to court. Giggle was joined by Lesbian Action Group,
Hmm.
LAG, and Tickle was joined by the Australian Human Rights Commission and by Equality Australia.
Yeah, and it was quite the show, wasn't it? We heard
It
about how
was,
purple shirts are feminine, a female.
yes,
Yeah,
so we know,
V-neck
yeah,
shirts particularly.
The V-neck was the big one. Yeah.
Yeah, and we all laughed and had a bit of a good time about it, but it was very depressing. So at least now we have record of how the Human Rights Commission have gone into bat for trans activists against women.
Yeah. And and also one of the things that came out of that was a little bit of scrutiny on Equality Australia for their dodgy gift taxation purpose like practices. So
Mm,
they actually they applied for deductible gift receipt status and they were knocked back. And then what they had done is they'd just gotten into a little contra deal with Thorn Harbour Health, which is the Victorian equivalent of ACON,
mm,
where if you click on the donate button on Equality Australia's website, it says your receipt will come from Thorn Harbour, which has the deductible status. Yeah, but and obviously the problem with that is that you know, you only get that deductible status if you're like a charity that's doing something for the community
yeah,
because tax is how we afford roads and hospitals and schools and the idea that Equality Australia can just say, oh, well, what we're doing is a service, when actually they're an advocacy body.
yeah,
And like any other advocacy body, they need to be supporter funded.
yeah,
Like their supporters have to pay tax on the donations that they give.
mm,
Right? We all have to pay tax on it. It's
of
how
course.
society is set up, you
Yeah,
know. So it was good to see them come under a little bit of scrutiny there. Then in August, we had Kirralie Smith lost her AVO appeal and had to pay, I've written $95, $95,000 in damages to two men whom she misgendered in
yeah,
her advocacy work.
be called men
Yeah,
who were on the sporting field with women, and she was objecting to that, uh,
yeah.
raising voices of actual athletes who were either competing against them or had boycotted games to avoid competing with them.
Mm.
A lot of people in sporting bodies were complaining, and she was acting as an advocate for those people. And she has been persecuted by the law, by those people through the law, using the law um, for recognising men past the trans identity.
And one of those men is, of course, Riley J. Dennis of
Mm.
uh,
Well, Magdalene
everyday
Burns,
feminism,
yeah,
Magdalene Burns
fame.
fame.
Yeah, she made a number of videos of him. Um, you know, and now hopefully I've made one video of her. Hopefully I'll get a few out there because I really want her to haunt him.
Mm.
Um, because he's so keen to keep his identity quiet when he has been advocating for rape culture for so many years and he has been violating women's boundaries for a long time. So we want to try and make him as famous as possible.
That's the thing, like these men, they want to, you know, they come in a lot of different flavors, and some of them really love the media, and
Mm.
some of them, they just, you know, want to live a quiet life. But they
Or
want to live
operate in
that quiet
stealth.
life, yeah, violating women's boundaries.
Mm.
And they want to live it on their own terms, and they don't
Yeah,
want to have any scrutiny for what it is that they're doing.
yeah,
Or anyone to say, even just on a like a personal level, for someone to say, hey, we don't want to play against you.
yeah.
We don't want to play.
No. We
That
want to play against
refusal,
women and you're not a
yeah,
woman.
that refusal's not accepted.
as the year went on, we did get more support. We did get more coverage of these issues, and sort of more and more people in the community started to find out about it.
Yeah, so I mean, Kirali's doing a really good job getting the word out there and just getting it out
Hmm.
there to ordinary people. So, um, all power to her, and she's able to fundraise really effectively as well.
Hmm.
And she's doing a lot of excellent lobbying. So in November, I had an excellent confrontation at the National Press Club where Megan Paw from the Women's Advocate um, asked the managing director of the ABC a couple of very pointed questions about the
Hmm.
relationship of the ABC and ACON.
Good on you, Megan.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And we also had John Ruddock give a speech in New South Wales Parliament about ACON and the absolute waste of taxpayer money um, that is ACON. Which is not to say that I think that gay men's health or the AIDS crisis or anything like that is to be minimised, but we're pumping more than $20 million a year into this organisation, um, plus plus grants and fees for service. They are opening a new health centre in prime real estate in Everleigh. They are doing, informational campaigns, billboard campaigns. They basically spend that money on people to write submissions to lobby and influence the law.
Hmm.
So it's no other group in society is getting this level of cash injection for advocacy.
No, no, that they're a monster out of control. And you, Kit Kowalski, have been pointing it out for a long, long time now.
I have been, which brings us to December, the month we're in now.
Yep.
Kicked off the month
My
with
video just doesn't want
Edie's
me to participate.
Edie's video. No,
It's
what's
crazy.
going on?
It's bugs. It's the gremlins.
So yeah, we had a couple of good articles in the Australian by
Yes.
Stephen Rice.
Yeah. Featuring our very own Kit Kowalski.
Yeah,
I was when it came out, I was telling Kit the other day that when it came out, um, I was a little bit obsessed. I was doing something that I needed my full concentration. I thought I'll read that tomorrow and then I'll tweet about it. And everyone was doing all the tweeting, so I thought I'll leave it and go. I don't know what's wrong with this. And my husband messaged me saying, "Did I just see in the Australian pictures of your friends?" I said, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I forgot to tell you that they're going to be in the Australian." It's like,
yeah.
why you not tell me?
It was a bit of a shock, actually. It was, I sort of knew something was in the works, but it was absolutely spectacular. I think we had half a front page plus a full double broadsheet spread in the weekend, and probably one and a half spread in the Monday. So it was massive, massive amount of
Yeah.
coverage in the Australian, and then flow on articles, and it kind of it it reached a little bit further. I saw different people taking up the issue and talking about the issue, and I think
It brought
that
water.
yeah, it went wider than it normally does, which is absolutely spectacular. And it can be hard with this sort of stuff because you don't you don't know what's going to reach people, and when you're in the thick of it, you kind of start to feel like you're a little bit mad, um, and that maybe you're drawing conclusions that aren't really there, or think something's really sensational and it's like not. But the fact is that so many people picked it up and said, actually, no, this is um, worth talking about, and this is a real problem, and this is something we should be looking at
Yeah.
and talking
And
about.
those people, even if they didn't act on it, they know that now. They know that there's a problem there. And when they hear about ACON, you know, which I think is a probably, I don't know what your goals are with your own work, but maybe you thought that would happen earlier, sooner, but it's something that has happened. You've done that. That's you and all the research you've done.
Yeah, I thought after the Media Watch episode in 2023 that would be it really. I thought that we probably wouldn't get anything beyond that.
I thought the fallout for that would be greater. Like I thought the reach of that would be greater.
I know. I think we all were hoping that it would be um, a little bit greater. Um, did I say 2023? I meant 2022. Yeah, so 3 years ago. Um, I was hoping like there was quite a lot of coverage across the media in 2022, but it was mostly in the Telegraph on Sky, and then there was the Media Watch episode.
For some reason, my Zoom is going funny, so we're going to try and just get this last topic talked about, which is the most important one, where Kit Kowalski and Stasia Fry make the Australian finally talk about the issues.
Yeah, I would, to be fair, the Australian have been pretty good with it,
Better
overall.
than others. Yeah.
I mean, I think the Daily Mail is probably has been the most consistent,
Mm.
um, followed by the Telegraph and the Australian, probably equally. Um,
Sky News have been very
uh,
good.
Sky have been excellent.
Mm.
It's so funny. If you'd asked me, 5 years ago, what are the media outlets that you're paying attention
Yeah,
to?
that's right. Yeah.
I mean, it would have been number one, probably nothing. Number two, ABC. Um, and now it's
Yeah.
Sky, the Australian.
Yeah. Just goes to show how indoctrinated you can get. And people say that people on Sky are indoctrinated, and there is kind of a right-wing thing happening.
Yeah.
Um, but really, I listen to Sky now, and some of the stuff I agree with and some I don't. It's not like the ABC where we kind of felt like we were the progressive ones and we were going to make the society better and we had the authoritative opinion. Um,
Well, yeah, like that's the thing with the ABC, is that it does give you the progressive opinion, and then you don't really need to think about anything else.
no, yeah,
It
this is what we
does,
think about this.
it does tell you what the good people think.
Mm,
And I've always been someone who's like read and watched quite widely.
mm,
And I've always been like, oh, okay, well, let's read the right-wing press and see what
mm,
they say. And, you're like, oh, it's interesting. You kind of balance it out a little bit. And, oh, that's a
yeah,
topic that's not being taken up. Um,
mm,
but yeah, like, I mean, the Bondi massacre is, classic. Like the ABC's coverage is, it's not religious. It's,
mm.
this
They're
just
spinning,
happened.
they're spinning a narrative, which the narrative that says it's got nothing to do with us kind of demonizing all Jews as connected to the actions of the state of Israel, which
And
we don't
then
have about anyone else. We don't have it about Russians. We don't assume that Russians are, all for Putin. Um, we would separate if we meet a Russian person, we separate them from the state, the actions of the state.
And
Um,
then on the other hand, you got like on the right wing commentators are all, we need to stop Muslims at the border.
mm,
And the solution kind of lies somewhere in between.
yeah, we're being nuanced here, are we?
A little bit, a little
Well,
bit.
you can't, you see these send them all back narratives. It's nonsense. It's, a lot of very good people who contribute to the society are all from different religions, and you cannot maintain a society where you you're chucking out people for their religion. It's very difficult.
Well, I was like super glad to see that the Muslim leaders have come out and said
Yeah, yeah,
we're
that's
not
not
burying
us.
them. We're not, you know.
Yeah, it should have happened earlier. I don't know
Not
about
part
not
of
burying
us.
them because in a Christian society we couldn't do that because there's redemption philosophy, and we'd say yeah, we'll provide all the rights, but these are not our faith. Um, but I don't think that Muslim leaders have done enough. They're always keen to claim Islamophobia. They're always keen to, talk about their own persecution, but they haven't done enough to
Mm.
drive these people from their midst, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but just in my experience, um, they need a cultural change. They need to be part of the change, not part of the, oh, look, that's got nothing to do with us. Well, it kind of
And
does.
and this is where, I think the this is where like there are broader issues, like the gender critical piece. It's just one of these like much broader issues around
Yeah,
left v right, narrative v narrative, and the state cracking down on free speech and the state cracking down on like free movement,
yeah,
and just using every single excuse to stop us talking on social media. And of course, nobody wants to sort of say, yeah, go Nazis, do, do your hate speech. Um, but we have seen firsthand that we are, seen as doing hate speech,
well,
right?
they have tried to associate with
Um,
Nazis. Is that this year? Did we talk about more redeeming? I don't know. I've
it's all
lost
a
track of the
blur.
years.
No, we
Um,
didn't talk about Moira
and
this
how
year,
she
but
was
yeah,
reinstated, and um, you know, they have the Liberal Party have had to come to terms with the fact that um, they did the wrong thing um, there, whether they did or not. And then, obviously he's been Pacito's been taken back into the fold and cashed up and rescued by them, which none of us thought should happen. But I spoke to Moira at the right wing extremist conference I went to. Someone
what
thought I was
CPAC?
serious about that. I'm not serious about it. It's a joke. Um, and yeah, she seems a lot better. She seems happier. She's fighting fit, which is good. Yeah,
Moira's been going really well, and she
yeah.
hasn't dropped the issue either, which is
No,
amazing.
no, that's right. Yeah, she's compliant.
Yeah.
She's always been compliant to the party. You have to be. But she's also, yeah, not stopped being a feminist, which you shouldn't have to, or women's rights activist when you're in a party. You should still be able to keep in the Liberal Party liberal beliefs about the freedom of women.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's been good. But yeah, I was absolutely delighted. I was in the middle of saying how delighted I was when you guys were in the Australian. I it was great to see. I felt I was reading it. I did get to read it. I read it on the bus the next day. I was running off to something and I started to read it on the bus and I started to weep
Aww.
on the bus. I saw your picture and I said, I can't remember what it
Aww.
said on you. And I thought, I
Yeah.
just felt finally something. And people must have thought I was reading some sort of sad story or something. Not the victory of the turfy friends. So I was, yeah, really delighted for you and Stasia to get some recognition in our national broadcaster. I've been screaming at them for a long time. Not national broadcaster, sorry, our broadsheet, national broadsheet.
Yeah. I think it's our only national broadsheet at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, yeah, look, I think I was really happy with it. I thought Stephen did an amazing job on all of the issues, canvassing it, putting it together. He didn't
yeah,
go down, didn't sort of take an activist line with it. He just kind of
yeah.
reported the facts and which is what is needed, really. Like there's
Yes,
evidence of wrongdoing and it needs to be brought to light. I would
yeah.
absolutely I would love it if we could have an inquiry into the ABC's relationship with ACON.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be amazing.
Mm,
And then ACON's relationship with all of these other government agencies.
Yeah.
It's caused me to go back over, the evidence that was gathered and that I went through, those couple of years ago. And I've been sort of, accumulating a little bit drips and drabs ever since.
In your
And
weird hobby.
honestly, yeah, my weird hobby. But like at the time, I sort of, you think, oh, look, is this real? Is this, there's no smoking gun. It's not like they're rolling up to workplaces and saying, you know,
Mhm.
trans women are women or else. Um, but they're
But they
kind of
kind of
creating
are.
this, they kind of are as well. They're
Mm,
creating this culture where they're the experts
yeah.
and they're not the experts. They're absolutely not. Like they are making it up as they go along.
Yeah.
Um, And it'd be fine if it was Woolworths and Salesforce and private companies wanted to shell money out for this because in a private company, we'll spend this money and it'll get us something. It'll get us better staff. It'll get us better
Mm,
customers. It'll get us more sales. And then when it stops getting you that, you stop doing it.
yeah.
But when it's the government,
Mm,
they don't have that same logic. And the government is full of people who are really good at implementing, optimizing, following the brief, complying with the requirements, because that's their job. Like their job
yeah.
isn't to ask a lot of questions. Their job is to take the problem and solve the problem.
Yeah, it's like the Nazi thing, isn't it? Where
They're just following
they
orders.
said they were doing what they told. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there is a problem there. And it needs resistance. It needs mass resistance at a time when mortgages are massive. The mortgages young people are taking on now are massive. We need two incomes in a household. Government is a great source of reliable income for women. It's a great source of work from home income for women.
Yeah.
And so it is much easier for women to pay the mortgage and keep their head down and hold their nose when they go to the toilet with the men in the toilets than it is to complain and upend their life.
And it's a lot easier for us all just to kind of, trundle along with the next cupcake day and the next,
Yeah,
for most government workers, it doesn't intrude on them.
yeah.
It doesn't intrude on them at all. Like they might see a sign that says, oh, gender neutral toilets, and they might never see a man in the women's toilets.
Mm.
But what it
Particularly
does,
when I worked for the government was fully dominated by women, the floor that I was
yeah,
on in policy, housing
yeah.
policy. Mm.
And then, but it's not about that workplace, it's about the policy capture.
And the principle of it, and the woman who's going to be stuck in a workplace. And we've spoken to them over the years,
Mm.
women who there's a guy pretending to be a woman, and he's, narcissistic and abusive, and he waits for her to go to the toilet and he follows her. And it might be one in, it's certainly not one in 100, I don't think. Um, but it may not be that regular. But for that woman, she has lost her rights to a single sex space, and it really matters to her. So, yeah, that's something that I think we know we're all going to keep going, even when our podcast is not there. You and I both got other things that we aim to do
Mm.
with that aim in mind to empower women to be able to stand up for their rights. And it's a long haul, yeah.
It's a long road. And like we've had this like great sort of benchmark win, fantastic series of articles in the Australian that again, we're standing up against ACON who get $20 million government money a year
Mm.
plus fee for service. Um, then they're only one. There's Thorn Harbour.
Plus,
There's
there's all
there's
the
one in every
organisations which are signed up. There's
yeah,
a tax office who take our money. There's, whoever we interact with at work.
police, defence.
Mm.
they're all signed up
Yeah.
and they all have the training
Mm.
and they all know that trans women are women and that women who say otherwise are bigots. Um, and like, in many ways, we're kind of still in that same situation that we've been in for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So, um, but I think that now there is a lot, I think we're starting to coalesce as a movement and starting to find that focus. So there's the
Mm.
couple of big lawfare cases. Um, I didn't mention before, Mel Jeffries, her case is kind of trundling along. It's going to come to some sort of fruition soon.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, she's been
and
on, I saw her read a pen here, saw her on a few things, I think. She does
yeah, so
well.
she's been in the media a bit this year,
Mm.
and putting her case forward. And there's I think we're starting to find focus talking about the ABC and talking about ACON. And it's like a keystone. If you can
Mm.
unseat that keystone, a lot of things will fall out
Yeah.
from that.
So as the ABC, people start to question, and you and I would have done it on other issues. We would have been watching the ABC. I remember the moment I was doing it. I was watching the ABC um, Q&A, and I went, "Hang on,
I know.
what's that? What's that you're saying?" And it's the kind of awakening that you have. Okay, I don't trust that source anymore. Once they become a source that's untrusted, like the state media, like, the Russian media that we used to joke about and the other
Mm.
forms of state media, hopefully people will start to look for alternative sources of media and information.
I think that is why the unfortunate situation at Bondi has kind of loomed so large, for a few reasons for me this week. But I did notice that like there was a real backlash against the coverage of the ABC, and
Mm.
there was a lot of backlash. And ordinary people are saying, "Hang on a minute, uh, this is this is too far. We can't swallow this pill any longer."
Yeah,
And yeah, it, if yeah, I do remember the moment that that I thought of the ABC as being less than trustworthy. But before that moment, there was a moment when I first heard about the gender identity stuff, and I thought, because I'd known about trans for a long time, and I thought, oh, it's just a few people. It sounds
yeah,
really misogynistic. It's nothing. And then, oh, it's a fringe movement. It's nothing.
yeah.
And then I kind of got to this point where I was like, oh, wait,
It's
they take it
something.
serious? Like they
I
actually
mean
believe
that.
it? Wait,
Yeah.
what? There's,
I
wait.
remember with the trans issue, apart from the ABC, it wasn't on the ABC, it was on Sunrise or one of those programs. I don't know why I was watching them. Um, but maybe the kids, I don't know why, but it was when Barry Humphries was cancelled.
Oh, yeah.
And there was an episode, and they had, is it Colette on? That famous trans identified
Oh,
woman,
Carlotta.
Carlotta, sorry.
Man,
And they were sympathizing with her, and they said,
him.
Barry Humphries has come out
I'm going to
saying, oh,
pronoun
sorry,
police you.
sorry,
It's a
him.
man.
When you grow up, I find him difficult to
Yeah, yeah,
correctly sex
yeah,
because I've grown up with people calling
yeah.
him a woman from when I was a child.
Mm.
Um, so they said to him, "Oh, Barry Humphries has come out saying that you're not a real woman." And I remember thinking, "Well, he's not a real
Yeah,
woman.
duh.
No real woman has had their cock chopped off. It's not a thing. This is not a real woman." And he then went in on this. I thought he was going to say, "Oh, well, darlings, you know what he's like. Oh, it's not, I'm not a real woman, but
Make
I give
some
it a
joke
good
about it.
go." Yeah,
Yeah.
which is what they normally do. But he leaned full into it, and I thought, what? Hang on, what are they talking about? that they, and I think, I've heard Menno say it as well when he had been obviously in the gay and the gender kind of bending scene for a long time. And first, when he heard someone say, well, they're real women, he sort of went, no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah, right.
what? Where you get that moment of confusion.
Yeah, I remember really clearly thinking there was a time when I thought to myself, wait till they hear about this at the ABC. The ABC will do some sort of high quality investigation. They'll deliver a balanced article or show, and it will help me to work my way through these issues.
Such a dickhead, Kit.
I know. And I just looking back now, I think, oh my God,
I wasn't
how
saying.
innocent was I?
My
How,
husband and I used to love the ABC. We do, was it Monday night on the ABC where you had Four Corners, you had 7:30 report, you had, and then you had Australian Story, was it Monday or Tuesday?
yeah.
And it was a great night on the ABC. Oh, tonight's a good night. It's a good night on the ABC. We, to be fair to us, they probably did have a more fair
Th-
perspective.
There were times that they were, but looking back, I mean, some of the earliest pro-trans content on Australian television was the ABC,
Yeah.
was Four Corners.
Mm.
They've been into it for a long, 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 long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
With Michelle Telfer. It's
Yeah.
been
Yeah. I remember
very,
seeing that thinking, oh shit, this is not good.
yeah.
We're in trouble. Um, I knew it was indoctrination. I knew it was false. But when you're a Christian, you do think a lot of things. You do see a lot of things on media that you don't agree with, and you kind of just say, well, that's their belief.
Mm,
And particularly anti-Christian stuff. And I was seeing a lot of anti-Christian stuff on the ABC for a long time. And I was thinking, okay, right. And it wasn't until um, Kevin Rudd, where I knew that the left had was saying to me, you either adjust your beliefs on this or you have to, or you're not one of us. One
mm.
of us, one of us.
Well, yeah, I think I used to sort of think that I guess I used to have that intellectual idea of you could live out the role, you could live out the opposite sex role, but I
Hmm.
never thought anyone took it seriously.
No, it wasn't until the turf said to me, I think it was
Yeah.
after I'd written something and I was on the tweets, when I just got on the tweets and the turf said to me, I said, well, if they're living as a woman, and she said to me, what does that even mean?
Mm.
It was one of those turf questions that I went,
Yeah, right? Like,
oh yeah, I'm a feminist. I should know better.
yeah.
Why didn't I not think that before? That there's
And
no way to live as a woman.
yeah, like
Like,
once it's just stereotypes all the way down.
mm,
You're like, oh, okay, well, you can live your life with stereotypes. That can be fun, cosplay,
mm.
put on your 50s heels and get into the kitchen with your little apron on.
Yeah, I've been doing
But
that
then,
today.
what there's like the impact on children. And every time you
Mm,
turn the screw, there's like another horror story. And it's harder and harder and harder to swallow
yeah.
the pill.
And there is
Um,
roles that women play, mother.
yeah.
And some of them are nurturing roles, and some of the roles, I mean, I'm married to a man who's a good cook. He does all the washing. But I'm still the mother. I'm I'm still, I've got better taste than him. If there's something to be chosen in the house, I wouldn't leave it to him. Um,
I find,
there are stereotypes, but there are also things that women are better at naturally, and there are things that men are better at naturally, generally. But you don't lock people into them. You don't. There's women who are good at mechanical things, but generally, when you get turned up to the mechanic, it's going to be a man.
generally. And
Yeah.
that's why it's like, I find that's a real massive betrayal from the gender identity crowd It's that, oh, if you're good at being a mechanic, you must be a man.
Mm.
Um, Whereas, like, it's so special to be a woman who has really good
Yeah.
mechanical aptitude. And I know, like, I'm really good at math, but I'm
Mm.
really poor mechanically.
Mm.
I'm, really, really, really terrible at it. I'm very terrible with my spatial reasoning, but I'm excellent at maths and analytics and computation.
Mm.
So, um, I it's so special when you see a female mechanic. You're like, yes, that's awesome. That's
Mm.
great.
Yeah, and you don't
They just
want to
ruin it.
confine people. And I've always been interested in politics. Politics is usually a more masculine thing. And
Mhm.
among my women friends, I guess, obviously you're interested in politics. I've found a lot of women who are interested in politics. A lot of women are in politics. Um, but it was a gender non-conforming thing in a sense that I was reading books um, about Churchill and, you know, Keating and whatever, when other women, I also read Private Prejudice, so like Jane Austen. Um, but they're the kind of stereotypes that you want to break, that because women need to be in political participation. So it's important to challenge stereotypes, but not to make new stereotypes, not to, I mean, obviously gender identity locks people into stereotypes, but it's also important. Like we get the conservative side of people who argue with us, saying that women, it's good for women to be in the home, and we agree with that. That
Yeah.
it is good for many women to be in the home. But if you had locked me in the house, I would have gone insane.
Yeah.
I needed an outlet.
Same. It was not for me to just be a stay-at-home and just to be a stay-at-home mum.
Mm.
But like my mum was a stay-at-home mum. And I know that she felt like very left behind by feminism
Yeah.
and like very ignored by the 70s feminism that was happening at the time. Like it's all,
Mm.
oh, liberation for women, unless you have children. Then
Mm.
you're just the forgotten people.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that as women, I am looking forward to, I'm probably less excited about it these days, but I still strongly believe that what we need is a genuine politic for women
Mm.
that doesn't gloss over it and say, oh, women and men are identical, or that doesn't say women are better than men at
Mm.
everything, or that women don't need men, or that
Mm.
heterosexuality is wrong or immoral.
Yeah. And
Um,
an evolving politics, an evolving debate,
yeah,
which I kind of thought we had, you know, but obviously we didn't. But even now in the turf world, I've had plenty of fights with women, as you well know. Um, Even with Holly Lawford Smith, I've had a fight and she's blocked me now on Twitter. Um, Over some stupid things because I mean she's a philosopher and I disagree with philosophers generally. Um, but I did criticize her about some of the things she was saying about heterosexual women because I thought they were regressive and I thought that I didn't like them. I didn't like I wanted to distance myself from that kind of feminism.
mm,
Um, Not that I begrudge lesbian feminists having their own politics. But when they start commenting on heterosexual women, we've got a right to say some stuff as well. We should have an evolving debate and a discussion and disagreement and debate. Nothing wrong with that. We don't all think the same things.
yeah, and we do have to be careful not to be like tokenized and not to be reduced.
Hmm.
Um, at the moment, with how many of the state liberal parties are headed up by women right now?
Yeah,
How little difference has it made,
yeah, it doesn't make
actually?
any difference. Yeah.
It's,
It's
it's
it's a performance thing. It's who can perform in this particular way. And in Victoria, we've seen Batten being replaced by, is her name Jess Wilson? Is that her
I
name?
think so, yeah.
Yeah. She's got that same combating style that Jacinta Allen has got. She's a bit softer than her, but she's got that sort of, she's obviously won her high school debates, um, And I see the logic in that. She's obviously very smart, but yeah, we're never going to fight the way the politics is changing, are we? The way the politics is being dominated on the left. Most of those women are just they're just repeating the lines. It's not hard. I could tell you what you got a 21-year-old senator or representative or whatever in that. I can tell you all their opinions. I don't even need to think about it. They've got exactly the same opinions as the men who have placed them in there. It's still male dominated. Just because there's women there, it's dominated. There's someone behind them with their hand up their back.
Well, I lost a lot of respect for the Labor Party when I was when we were doing the lobbying work for the Equality Bill,
Hmm.
because the Labor Party would just say, "Oh yeah, well we'll listen to you, but we just we vote whatever caucus tells us to do."
Hmm.
So like
Yeah. Power lies somewhere
it,
behind the faces.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
The faceless men.
and some of those men are women.
Yeah. Behind the scenes. Yeah. But most of the men are men. Most of the faceless men are men.
Most of them, yeah,
Yeah.
let's face it, most of them are men, and most of them aren't stay-at-home mums, and
No.
most of them have never had a baby, and they don't know what it's like,
No.
and um, they don't have a daughter who's at risk of, being groomed on social media.
No. The dream was that we would be represented, that women could stay at home and still be represented in Parliament, largely by the women who did choose to go. That's not happened.
Well, it can't happen because at the end of the day, women are people. It's like
Mm,
this uncomfortable truth. Like we're a class, but we're not a political cohort and we're not a political interest.
mm,
It's why every party who tries to court the women's vote ends up with, like just talking about the same things. And it's always domestic violence and maternity leave,
mm.
which
Yeah. And
are
then on the
proper
right,
issues, but they're not, they don't appeal to the vast majority of women because you know, we're not politically homogenous.
no. And we get a lot of narratives too from the right that women are not having children because they're too powerful. Women have got too much power. So they've decided not to have children. They've decided instead to live single with cats, um, and not have men. Well, that's
It's
just not the reality. I would have had more children if we could have afforded it, if we had more support. A lot of women would have had more children.
Yeah.
Most of us really love. I talked to Leah the other day. She's having a third child. Great Brisbane turf. Um, it's a great thing to have more children, and she's tired and it's exhausting, and she can't do as much politics because, her life is now she'll have three children under four, I think.
Mm,
That's a that's a lot of work. But she's making new humans.
yeah.
Like, well, especially when she's away from her family, she's English. I've made humans, and they're coming around in a couple of days and they'll have other people with them and eventually they'll make, hopefully, Jesus, please, making it more humans. Um, and it's a wonderful thing to be a mother. It's a wonderful thing. I get right wingers all the time accusing me of not celebrating motherhood. Oh, you don't respect your husband. I had one guy saying, "Oh, yeah, but you're going to snipe about men." They just get into a narrative and they don't
Yeah.
understand that actually maybe women are voting left because you're a bunch of assholes and you're being rude to women and you're not creating a nest. Maybe. I mean, if you want pandas to reproduce in the wild, in what do they call it when they're locked up?
In captivity.
Captivity, you try and make their life a bit more comfortable. None of that.
But then we also get like from the left and from the state specifically,
Hmm.
the social work state, we get the, oh well, women's problem is male violence, and male violence is caused by masculinity, and we need to
Hmm.
eradicate masculinity. Um,
Yeah,
like all
it's
these
a
narratives
terrible
are
idea.
so false. Like they're false
Yeah,
on both sides,
yeah,
and they're just blaming, and they don't serve us. I
no.
think we need to reject on all counts.
I think one of the main problem is, if we can go back to ACON, is they're not represented. The governments are not are bypassing democratic representation for consultants, and so they're
Yeah.
paying organisations like Our Watch, which are basically the feminist version of ACON, and ACON, millions of dollars to give them policies that they pay for. So
And
they
there's
give
a,
them policies that
yeah.
they want, but they're not representative. There's no ACON are not representative of gay people. They're representative of a few gay men who want surrogacy and who want, to do everything they want in the workplace. Gay men and some straight men who want to dress up in the workplace, put the frilly knickers on, and have women say, "You're fabulous." That's
And
who
don't,
ACON represent.
and the pimp lobby. Don't forget the
The
pimp lobby.
pimps, they represent the
Yeah.
pimps really well. Yeah. So all
Yeah.
the all the
Like,
men.
yeah, it's just like the literal, I think that Rachel,
Well,
Rachel called it the misogyny bill when it first came out, the equality
mm,
bill, because it
yeah.
was just, access to women's bodies reproductively, access to women's bodies sexually, access to women's spaces through gender
Mm.
identity. And
It's all a disaster. Yeah.
yeah, but
I
it's the consultants who are taking over government because government has no expertise.
no. Well, governments has no conscience. Humans, that's what the idea of democracy is. It's imperfect. It's a theory. It's a political theory, and it's an experiment. And it's been pretty good, really.
Mm.
Democracy as an experiment, liberal democracy, to give humans more freedom. But the idea is that the state would become subject to the conscience of the people. Because we know states don't have a conscience. We can tell that from early 20th century fascism and communism and a whole range of the East India Company, colonialism. We know that they are systems that are run by people, but they're not subject to the conscience of, you know, the state, the populace. So, we need to try and reinstate. How we do that with women, I don't know. It's a question that's evolving. Be nice to try and experiment some different things rather than just have these men continually take over all our institutions.
Well, I think like it's an apparatus, right? And I
Yeah,
think as we know, like the state will become corrupted. Any institution that we establish for women will be taken over by
yeah,
men at some point. So it's just that
mm.
evolving conversation, isn't it? It's just,
It is. Yeah,
the shark. You've got to keep
yeah.
moving.
So, Kit Kowalski, what have you got planned for 2026?
Oh, one thing I just wanted to note is 2 days ago, Northern Territory withdrew public funding for puberty blockers,
Yes.
and that is our final. It may not be our final victory for
Queensland, can we talk about
2025.
Queensland
We talked
banning
about
puberty
Queensland. Yeah,
blockers
yeah,
and then reinstating the ban when the trannies and also not just the trans activists. My local member, a bunch of them turn up outside Parliament with all the signs that you can tell a government paid for to try and reinstitute the sterilisation of children. So we've got that on record. I've
yeah.
listed them. I wrote a Spectator article, so they're listed there. There's a record of them now who
Mm.
said, no, 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 we want to keep the children sterilised. Yeah.
Yeah.
Northern Territory, yeah. Okay,
Northern
we've done
Territory,
that.
good on
Yeah.
them. Country Liberal Party, and excellent. I'm loving. I think Stasia called them the desert liberals. Um, the desert liberals. Like, good
Yeah.
on them.
Good on, yeah.
These are people who 5 years ago I would have crossed the street to avoid, and
Oh,
yet these are
yeah.
the people who are doing the right thing,
Well, National
right?
Party. I grew up under Joe. We despise the National Party.
Yeah.
I talked to Bridget McKenzie a couple of weeks ago at this soiree that I went to. Um, and it's funny because she walked in. I was standing with one of my tofu friends, and as soon as she walked in, I was wearing a bright blue dress, liberal party colours. And she came up straight and introduced me, introduced herself to me. She was charming. I gave her all the story. I gave her the whole story. Um, Told her they all need to do better. But country party people, I would never have spoken to.
Yeah.
But they're doing a lot better than the city party people. Yeah, on a range of issues, I think.
Yeah. And, I remember one time we was at a rally and the shooters, fishers, and farmers came over to sort of talk to us. They were like,
They're weird, aren't they?
wow, we never thought, you know, we'd be
Mm,
standing here next to a bunch of radical
rednecks.
lesbians. And, like,
Yeah.
and they were like, we were like, oh, we didn't think we'd be standing next to the shooters, fishers, and farmers. But,
Yeah.
good on you. We're all here on the same side. So that's
Yeah, that's right.
politics,
Yeah.
right? You stand next to the person who's going to give you what you want.
The issues,
Um,
yeah. And
it's
I've
issues
read
based.
something
Come
that'll
on.
come out next year, hopefully, about that as well. The way that's always been the way feminism has been. It doesn't mean you compromise, but you've got to have your issues,
Yeah.
and find out who can support them. My dog's
Yeah.
clicking on the floor,
You
you know.
you compromise if you vote for the party, even if they're not giving you what you want. That's the
Yeah,
compromise.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
right. Well,
okay.
I had a few encouragements to join the party, and I said that that's not going to happen. I'm sorry. Step too far,
Mhm.
one step at a time, as the Grinch would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are you doing next year?
Uh,
2026.
Next year I'm gonna take a bit of personal focus time, to be honest. I'm gonna take the
How
first few
dare
months
you?
and I have over the last 5 years, my health has really suffered. And I think it's just time for me to just address that and
Yeah,
get myself healthy, get
yeah.
everything, you know, go swimming every day and just really, get myself back on an even keel.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, not be hunched in front of a computer for hours and hours and hours and hours a day, which
Yeah.
is what I've been doing. And I've become something that I won't say I don't like. I won't say I've become what I've despised, but I can see how being chronically online is bad for these people who believe in gender identity. And
Hmm.
yet, in combating it, I've become chronically online.
Hmm.
So I want to just break that cycle. That's my
Yeah.
very first thing. And secondly, I want to get a bit more into the institutional capture and I want to dig more into some of the platinum projects that people do as part of that organizations do as part of their AWEI. And I also, because the AWEI is not the only scheme in town, I would like to dig a little bit more deeply into some of the others, like the Rainbow Tick and the Rainbow Votes, and
So
see.
the IT professional by day, detective by night person that I read about in the paper is still going to be
I
around.
was hoping that she would go away, but I don't think she. I was hoping she would slowly fade away, but I think she's not going to.
No, no, just going to be a little bit more focused.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm
I think
gonna.
we get
Yeah,
called into a broader advocacy too as women who are making ourselves available. And there's things that we've had to say no to. I know that you at some point, I don't want to point any fingers,
yeah.
but you know was probably not the word that you were using enough. Um,
I don't say no. I don't say
yeah,
no enough. Like if I can help, I want to help. There must be my love language. Um,
yeah,
because I do try to help when I can, and I
yeah.
always end up being spread too thin. So
Mm.
um, yeah, I'm
And your
gonna
kids
just
are
try
facing
to,
the teenage years as well. It
yeah,
takes a lot of, it's a lot. I love those years. It is a lot of work, and it's not the same kind of physical work as when they're young. You're not nursing them and picking them up all the time, and thankfully, because you're too heavy. Um, but you are engaging with them on. intellectual levels even. I remember when one of my kids was younger, those teen years, she was watching the Kardashians. And I could have banned it, but actually the TV at the time was in the same sort of area. It was just near the kitchen, and it was before the kids were all online in their rooms. Um, so they're watching it on free to air and or whatever it was, Foxtel or whatever. And I'd engage in conversations about that as well.
Yeah.
Um, and we'd talk about the different things. He was watching a few other programs which were reality based, and she was finding them really funny and interesting because she had a really good sense of humor. Um, and some of those conversations were really important. And also the backseat conversations. So when you're picking them up, you do a lot of driving before they get their license and their cars. Um, and something about you looking forward and them not looking directly at your face. There's a lot of conversations that happen in those years, and they're important you got to take notice, right?
Yeah, and I have actually really I've had a lot more time with them in the last couple of years. And
Mm,
it's just been, I think that it's the gift that COVID has given me in
yeah.
particular, um, is the expectation that you have to go out for, 12, 13 hours a day to earn your living.
Mm,
That expectation has been shattered by
mm,
COVID.
mm.
And that's given me so much more time with my family.
Yeah, I think a lot of women are finding that.
And
I
it's
think, yeah.
just been absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
Mm,
Back?
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
okay.
we had a
What's on for
pretty
you in
dodgy connection.
2026?
Yeah, I haven't. Um, I think I'll still write, but it'll be more focused. I'm not gonna. Um, I'm not going to necessarily be single issue as much. And I know you've suffered a little bit of backlash from my opinions about the Middle East. Um,
I have,
you
yes.
have, yes, you've been associated with the bad person. So I won't have to worry about that infecting you with my.
Well, it's moronic. It's
It
absolutely
is silly.
moronic.
Yeah. It is silly. And when we
Sorry.
started, we did sit and we said, look, you got any secrets? And one of my secrets was my right-wing extremist secrets was that I'm pretty pro-Israel. In terms of Israel being able to have its own state, and I thought that was moderate. I thought that was a moderate left-wing position,
No.
and that was okay. But it's
Yeah.
obviously not anymore.
It's not,
So
no.
I'm not going to really shut up about that. I thought I'll put that to the side, but I'm not. But I'm not going to lean into it either. I'm not Jewish. Um, I am part of a Lebanese family. I am interested in the Middle East, but not that much. I'm still going to focus mainly on gender identity. I've just written a chapter for a book. I don't know whether it's going to come out or not, which is about the history of feminism and how we fit into the history of feminism. I have a website that I've been meaning to get up for a while that I just need 3 weeks, you know what I mean, to get it going every day for 3 weeks. I need to sit and get this website up. Because when you're a TERF, you can't just go and if you're going to sell some stuff online, you can't just go and get onto whatever it is, those platforms, shop platforms, Shopify, whatever, because you can get cancelled. So you've got to set everything up so you're not dependent. Everything's self within your site. So I've got to set that up. I'm going to sell some stuff online, which is just feminist stuff. I'm going to put some YouTubes up about the history of feminism that probably nobody will watch. But I'm interested in it, right? So I'm going
Yeah.
to lean into that a bit more, into the politics of that. I've spent some time restoring early 20th century feminist propaganda, which is a weird hobby too. We've both got a weird hobby. You investigate institutional corruption.
It's the weirdest hobby, honestly.
I, I
Like,
restore early 20th century feminist propaganda. and situate it in historic
Uh,
context and make gifts out of it. So, I do want to make um, lovely shirts and tea towels and things like that. I don't know if they'll sell or not, but cards, things that people can give other people that are based in feminist history that tell a little bit of a feminist story that might have a little barcode. And, if you're a teenager or something, you can scan it and it can tell you the history of that person, who they were, what they did, little
See,
bits of
that's nice.
history.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
So I'm
Yeah.
going to try give that a go. I've got a few other business projects. I need to get back to business. I was a business person for years and I stopped in COVID. I wound up some businesses COVID. So it had sort of the opposite effect. Plus, I had a really
Mm.
significant health issue that I had to deal with. I feel like I'm a lot stronger now. I'm a lot more recovered. So
It's
it's
all
time for
that
me to get back to work.
arguing on Twitter with
It
idiots.
is, yeah. Well, the thing is, the only reason I got to arguing with Twitter on Twitter with idiots is because I had time. Is because
Yeah.
my body made me stop. And so when your body makes you stop, what are you going to do? You pick up your phone, you look at the news,
Mm.
and you go, "Oh shit, things have got really bad." And you hear people say things, and you say, "Well, that's not true. This is true." And then you meet all your turfs and meet, recalcitrant women that, you know, investigate institutional corruption.
Well,
And
we have made some good friends out of this, I
we
think.
have, yeah.
Um, After, with all of this, like there's, I think you start out as sort of, I definitely started out thinking, all right, well, we're all in it together, and I had a very naive view, obviously.
Hmm.
Um, but you sort the wheat from the chaff, and I think we've made some good friends and some good colleagues and some people that the
Yeah,
trust is still there with, and that's
I think
really
so.
nice.
Yeah, we're not. I don't think we're moving into away from anything. We're just you've got to economize your time. And when you are home a lot, which I have been with my illness, you have time to edit a video and do those sort of things.
Mm.
But when you want to try and get back into business or yeah, whatever, we had a food business as well. I wouldn't mind investigating starting something like that up again that's a bit different. But then you think, I've been a TERF for 5 years. So what's going to happen with any business?
It's really scary. And I know, I feel like we're sort of talking about a lot of personal stuff, but I'm sure this resonates with other people. I'm sure this resonates
Hmm,
with other women. Like
yeah.
we're not unique here.
No, I do feel
Um,
like we do have a little bit more freedom. I do feel like the spell is broken. I feel like there's not as much cancellation. And if you do have a niche little business that sells whoosy what's, that they can only cancel you so much now. While
I do feel like that, yeah, that
years
it's
ago,
okay to say the
it was a lot
things.
worse. Yeah. And I don't, I'm not a literal Nazi. That's been proven in court now. Yeah. And, I do know a bunch of people who are, in parliament or in politics or, Sal, who's, also got a weird hobby of,
Being sued by
of
by a
raising
man.
millions of dollars to defend a business that doesn't really operate. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, hasn't it?
It's been a wild ride, yeah.
But the dollhouse has been good for us both. I think it started
Mm.
with us talking about on the phone, and we thought we were both really interesting people, and we said, let's put this conversation online and just have it and see if anyone wants to join in and listen to it. And it's
Yeah.
not Joe Rogan. Um,
Well,
but
not
I think
yet.
no. Well, I think with 700 to 1,000 people listen to it, I think that's a lot, right?
Mm.
That's like a church service, isn't it? I mean, that's a
It's not nothing,
no.
yeah.
I think it's
Um,
nice that women want to listen to us and they want to talk to us, and yeah, we might run some spaces or something. They're a lot easier.
yeah, exactly. And it has been really nice actually to have this as a forum. And we did a few experiments, like we did it weekly for a really long time.
Yeah,
And like and I think the lesson is that you can't kind of wing it with a podcast. Like you do have to have more of a plan, and you do have to
yeah.
have it takes a lot longer than you think.
Yeah.
because, you
Especially if you
know,
do it properly, which we really haven't. I mean,
yeah,
I can take responsibility for that because I've been doing the editing. People say I put shorts up, and I did for a while, but it's time consuming because even to edit it, like this is going to be a long one. So
yeah,
it's 3 hours to listen, and then you've got to listen to it first, and then you've got to listen to it again, and then you've got to cut bits out, and then you've got to clip it into a thing, and then you got to put music on, you got to do all the rest of it. If you
that's a
then want to
lot.
make clips, you got to find out what's the most interesting part, so you got to listen to it again.
Yeah.
It's it's time consuming, and then you've got to put them up online and talk about them. And by the time we've had a conversation, we're kind of, and I've edited it. I'm a bit sick of it. I'm ready to go and do something
Yeah.
else.
And I feel like we started it because there were a lot of arguments that we wanted to push back on. Like we wanted
Yes,
to, there was a lot
yeah,
of news, there was a lot of disinformation, and we wanted to say,
mm,
look, no, there's a different argument. This is how you can combat that.
that's
And
right.
I
Yeah,
I just don't see any arguments that I'm interested in refuting any longer.
right.
Aussie TRAs have been notoriously covert.
Mm.
They don't make arguments. I
No.
mean,
Eh,
Roxanne Tickle's argument is that he's a woman because he wears a V-neck.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
I
Well,
mean,
we
who
have
cares?
highlighted the ridiculousness of them. And
Yeah.
when there is a court case or whatever, I've tried to be. This time I
Mm.
was, marrying my daughter. So you know, I was distracted. But I try and get online and say, listen to the court case, go through it all. That's time
Yeah.
consuming too, right? We read all the judgments with the Laura Deeming issue. I think we covered that pretty well. I wrote a number of articles about it. I think 3 articles. I listened to the whole judgment. I read
Yeah.
through it. It's a lot of work, isn't it?
Stacia and I memed the hell out of that
It's,
case.
yeah. Lots of laughs, lots of funny
Yeah.
people. There's a lot of funny women.
Yeah.
Honestly, TERFs are funny women. Um, and yeah, it's a lot of good times too. Um, but yeah, we need to keep evolving and doing new things.
Yeah. And with that,
Mm-hmm.
I
At the
guess
end,
we should sign off.
yeah, I've got a sore back, and my dog is staring me down for his dinner.
You got to listen to the boss.
Yeah. Well, Merry Christmas to you and your household, Kit Kowalski. I hope you have a nice time.
Merry Christmas to you too,
Thank
Miss Edie
you.
Wyatt. And thank you, anyone and everyone who is still listening to us. And I do want to say thank you for the support and thanks for the
Yeah,
comments and thanks for,
feedback. Yeah.
you know, listening to us and subscribing and being our audience for the
Mm.
last 2-ish years. It has been great.
Mm.
I've I've had a really good time.
Mm. Yeah.
Talking it all out and going through the issues, and I'm going to miss this part of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll probably see you on a space or something.
Yeah,
Something
but we're not
happens.
going
Who
away.
knows?
So,
We might resurrect an episode or something. But yeah, it'd have to take something. When they repeal self-ID, we'll get back on the thing, huh?
no, we'll just be partying.
Yeah, we're getting drunk.
We'll get the Prosecco out when they repeal self-ID.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think we can probably spring for something more French.
Yeah,
Hello, little
the
dog.
Cube. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you,
And
everyone.
I won't say join us next week, but
Yeah.
catch you around.
See you guys. Bye bye.
Bye.